Folks, we're going to start in about 2 minutes. All right, folks, let's do this. We're going to get started now. The June 9th Board of Directors meeting is called to order. Carlos, will you please explain how to access interpretation?
Gladly. Good morning. We'll begin with instructions for the people who are joining us on Zoom, and I'll be back with the instructions for people who are joining us in person. Muy buenos días. Si nos acompaña por Zoom, se cuenta con interpretación simultánea al español. Para hacer uso del servicio, por favor, desplácese a la parte inferior de la pantalla, donde aparecen sus controles. Ahí haga clic en el icono de interpretación, parece un globo terráqueo, y seleccione Spanish o español. Si está utilizando la aplicación móvil de Zoom, en celular, tableta, etc., presione primero los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación, y luego el idioma. Again, simultaneous interpretation is being provided to and from Spanish. For those of you joining us via Zoom, please scroll down to the bottom of the screen where the meeting controls are. There, click on the interpretation icon. It looks like a little world, and select English as your language. If you are joining through the Zoom mobile app on a cell phone, tablet, or other device, press the ellipsis, the 3 dots, then interpretation, and then choose your language. Now, if you're joining us in person at SANDAG and need interpretation into English, please check out a headset from the receptionist on the 7th floor. It looks like a little iPod, and it comes with an earpiece which you can use to hear any Spanish comments or questions translated back into English. You simply hold the earpiece to your ear, and the interpreter will come on automatically. Si nos acompaña presencialmente en SANDAG y necesita interpretación al español, por favor diríjase a la recepción del piso 7 y solicite un receptor. Este parece un pequeño iPod y se puede utilizar para escuchar la reunión en español. Simplemente sostiene el auricular junto a su oído y la interpretación comenzará automáticamente. Gracias and thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. As you can see, Chairwoman Vargas is not here today. She's not able to join us. She's actually wrapping up her visit with the United Nations and will be heading back shortly. We haven't been able to share a lot of details based on direction from the State Department, but I know that she is looking forward to filling us all in as soon as she gets back. With that, we will begin the meeting with a tribal acknowledgement. We will take a moment to acknowledge the land that we call home. The tribal nations of the San Diego region have historically faced injustices. We acknowledge the harmony that existed between the land, nature, and its original peoples who have since endured displacement, persecution, and systemic oppression. We pay our respect to the unceded territory and homelands of the 18 tribal nations in our region, which is the most in any county in the United States, from our 4 cultural groups, the Kumeyaay Diegüeño, the Luiseño, the Cupeño, and the Cahuilla. This land has nourished, healed, protected, and embraced them for many generations in a relationship of balance and harmony. As members of the SANDAG community, we acknowledge this legacy. We aspire to learn from indigenous traditional knowledge and experiences in undoing the injustices of the past. Now, if you will please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, a nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All right, thank you. Tessa, please call the roll.
Good morning. For City of Carlsbad, Councilmember Burkholder.
Present.
City of Chula Vista, Councilmember Chavez.
Present.
City of Coronado, Councilmember Duncan.
Present.
The County of San Diego is absent. City of Del Mar, Councilmember Drucker.
Here.
City of El Cajon, Mayor Wells.
Here.
City of Encinitas, Mayor Kranz.
Here.
City of Escondido, Mayor White.
Present.
City of Imperial Beach, Councilmember Fisher.
Fisher here.
City of La Mesa, Councilmember Shu.
Here.
City of Lemon Grove, Mayor Vasquez.
Here.
City of National City, Vice Mayor Molina.
Present.
The cities of Oceanside and Poway are absent. City of San Diego, Councilmember Campillo. City of San Diego, Vice Chair Elo Rivera.
Present.
City of San Marcos, Mayor Jones.
Here.
City of Santee, Mayor Minto.
Here.
City of Solana Beach, Vice Chair Hebner.
Here.
City of Vista, Councilmember Melendez.
Here.
Caltrans, Deputy Director Dayarda.
Here.
Excuse me, Director Dayarda. MTS is absent. North County Transit District, NCD Chair Edson.
Here.
Imperial County is absent. USDOD, Director Keck. Port of San Diego, Director Stuyvesant.
Here.
San Diego County Water Authority is absent. San Diego County Airport Authority, Director Cabrera.
Here.
Mexico is absent. And the Tribal Chairmen's Association, Chairwoman Pinto.
Present.
That concludes the roll call and confirms quorum.
Thank you, Tessa. We will begin with non-agenda public comments, and this will be for public and member non-agenda comments. Per our board policy, the amount of time allowed for each verbal public comment is determined based on the number of agenda items, complexity of those items, and the number of people anticipated to offer comment. This allows us to hear from as many people as possible and to complete our business while we still have a quorum. Based on those factors, for today's meeting, the non-agenda public comment time will be 1 minute. Tessa?
Thank you. I'd like to remind the public that at this point, we take 5 public commenters and the remainder will be taken at the end of the meeting. The 5 that will be called: Michael Brando, Alan C., Truth, Consuelo, and Paul Henkin. Mr. Brando, please go to the podium.
Michael, since so many of you sit on different councils and boards and what have you, and participated in the, you know what, the COVID scamdemic, whether or not you knew you were, actively engaging in deception or not, I want to invite many of you, as well as the institution of SANDAG, to go to the endofcovid.com, the endofcovid.com, Bill, the endofcovid.com. And there's going to be a great series of presentations that starts on July 11th. And there's an introductory video here too. This is so important because civic business cannot be engaged unless we're residing on a foundation of truth. Thank you.
The next public speaker, Alan C., please go to the podium.
Good morning, all aboard. How many took the bus today? Surprise, surprise, we have a bus strike. You're lying to me. Let's move on here. And of course, MTS is also not here. Surprise about that. Isn't that amazing? Amazing. you notice Allstate and State Farm has left the state for covering new homes because of the cost of living here. As you push forward this road tax, what are you going to do to more business leaving? Look at how many Walgreens left Frisco. How many are leaving down here? And yet you keep pushing. And now the new call is not a road tax. We're going to call it a congestion tax. Well, since 1987 Transnet, we voted to expand the freeways, not bus lanes, not bike lanes. It's not even on there. We voted to expand the freeways. And yet now you're proposing a congestion tax on the roads we were paid for that you didn't expand. Board, take charge. You're just taxing us out of where we're going to leave the state. So many have left the state already. I yield back.
Our next speaker, Truth, please go to the podium.
Okay, I'm the foundation, Truth. Last meeting, a VMT alternative came up called vehicle hours traveled fees. How long your trip takes determines the price. People's rides tracked and people forced to stay within their future low emission zones. Now here's a mashup. Oh wait, 15-minute cities, stupid smart cities fulfilled now. Now I got the mashup of Nora's bosses at UN Habitat the other day.
Is leading global undertakings, data and statistics collection. Governments must monitor distribution of future populations and mindset shift, implementing massive, radical, transformative action.
The Global Urban Monitoring Framework is a tool to monitor society, economy, environment, culture, and governance.
In the SDGs, the new urban agenda, cities are critical battlegrounds.
So which side of this war are you guys all on? Hopefully not on the side of a foreign agency committing treason, because that's what Nora's busy doing right now. She's getting her orders from the UN instead of here.
Your time expired. Our next speaker, Consuelo, please come to the podium.
Thank you for your taxes. Wait, we create dependent slaves to keep you all under control. Thank you for your taxes. Thank you for your vote. We know you don't need us, but we've convinced you otherwise. You continue to keep us alive and thriving. Sincerely, the establishment. The urge to save humanity and the planet is always a false face for the urge to rule it. Government, they create the chaos to ensure they'll appear as the heroes. All tyrannies rule through fraud and force, but once their fraud is exposed, they must rely exclusively on force. Stop thinking anyone has the right to rule over you. Stop talking and acting as if anyone has the right to rule over you. Anarchy, from the Greek prefix and without, absence of, and the Greek noun archon, master or ruler. Anarchy does not mean without rules. It literally means without rulers. No rulers, no masters. Anarchy is no guarantee that some people won't kill, injure, kidnap, defraud, or steal from others.
Your time
Government,
expired.
though, is a guarantee
Our
that
final
some will.
speaker on this item is Paul Henkin. Please go ahead. You are self-muted. Mr. Henkin, you're self-muted. He seems to be self-muted. I can go on to the next speaker, which will be our final speaker, Blair Beekman. Please go ahead.
Wow, hi, Blair Beekman. I didn't think I would be able to speak today. Good morning to everyone. Boy, I just wanted to comment that the city of San Diego voted on a smart kiosk plan this week. Their council, first stages of it. They did a remarkably bad job to describe the concepts to the public openly and honestly and accountably. We're not going to be working that way in 5 years' time. It's so nice to hear that Supervisor Vargas has been visiting the UN, where they talk responsibly in responsible terms how to deal with these things. San Diego talked like little children about the future of technology. They were not open at all. We need to learn how to do that together. Let's practice accountability, everyone. It's not scary. It's not meant to hurt anyone. It's meant to be a future where we leave war and work towards peace and open democracy. Good luck in those efforts from all of us. Thank you.
That concludes the public comments.
All right, thank you for that. Do we have any member non-agenda comments?
Chair.
Right ahead.
I also serve as chair of the LoSAN agency and have an update on the San Clemente track closure. As most of you are aware, Amtrak's Pacific Surfliner service has been impacted by ongoing track closures through San Clemente since September of 2022. The LoSAN agency has made a commitment to maintain the vital connections between San Diego, Orange, and Los Angeles counties. We have done so by providing ongoing bus bridges to help customers complete their journeys around closed portions of the tracks. Naturally, as a result of track closures, our ridership, which had recovered to almost 75% of pre-pandemic levels, began to take a hit. The resulting impact on the agency's revenue, combined with the costs of the bus bridges and the state budget deficit, have put LoSAN in a difficult financial situation. As a result, next week, we will begin implementing significant cost-cutting measures as we work with Amtrak, the state, and our member agencies on additional service delivery options. It's unfortunate that the city of San Clemente's recent efforts to stabilize the hillside below the Casa Romantica cultural city have not been successful. The city is now exploring installing ground anchors to stabilize the hillside and the structure above. Concurrently, Metrolink, in coordination with OCTA, the Orange County Transportation Authority, is planning to construct a barrier wall in the railroad right-of-way at the base of the hillside to catch debris. The barrier wall had previously been considered, but was not advanced as it was expected that the city's nearly completed work to grade and stabilize the slope would prevent any additional sliding from the hillside. A timeline has not yet been established for completion of these projects, but initial estimates suggest that the tracks will likely remain closed well into July. Unfortunately, due to state intercity rail budget constraints, LoSAN is unable to continue the current level of bus bridges and must implement cost-cutting measures in order to preserve as much service as possible while still maintaining the vital link between San Diego and Los Angeles counties. Beginning Monday, June 12th, 2023, the following updates to Pacific Surfliner service will be implemented until further notice. Train service within San Diego County and associated bus connections between Irvine and Oceanside will be reduced by half. Ticket windows at the Solana Beach, Santa Ana, and Anaheim stations will be closed. Cafe car service will be suspended between San Diego and Oceanside, and all checked baggage service on the Pacific Surfliner will be suspended. These measures to reduce operating costs are necessary to preserve continuing service to San Diego County using bus bridges, while we continue to coordinate with OCTA, Metrolink, the City of San Clemente, Amtrak, and the state on a timeline for the resumption of passenger rail service through San Clemente. The Pacific Surfliner has long been the most popular intercity rail route in California. Even with the track closures, LoSAN has continued to serve tens of thousands of customers every month. Even at our lowest ridership during the track closure, we continued to serve more customers on a monthly basis than our two California Amtrak sister agencies, the Capital Corridor and the San Joaquins. During the rail closure in May 2023, LoSAN ridership exceeded 106,000 trips, with more than 35,000 of our customers utilizing the bus bridges between Oceanside and Irvine. This makes it pretty clear that our service fulfills an important need and that customer confidence in our service remains strong. LoSAN recognizes that the planned changes to Pacific Surfliner service will cause significant disruption and inconvenience to our customers. However, focus must be on ensuring both safe and reliable service. And despite funding challenges, we're working hard to provide just that. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Edson. All right, do we have any additional non-agenda member comments? All right, and you all feel free to hit the buttons, that way I don't lose track, but we'll start with Councilmember Duncan.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I just wanted to reiterate, as many of the board members who are here now were not here at the end of our last board meeting, that I strongly would request that our executive committee and our board support the next time we have an independent auditor review and report to SANDAG, that we schedule it either at the start of the agenda or possibly on a day where we have a small agenda, because I think having it at the end of a lengthy day where we're in our fourth or almost fifth hour of meetings, where that independent auditor's report is still going on. And I think approximately half our board was missing. We had the chair of our board, no vice chair of our board, no second vice chair of our board here, sends the wrong message to the independent auditor and to the community. And I would hope and respectfully request that we do better in the future with giving it the proper respect. Now, I do acknowledge, obviously, that all of the people I just mentioned had seen and been through that report in other committees of SANDAG, but I just think it's very important that we have it, it's also a proper, but also the appearance of propriety in how we treat that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gallardo?
Thank you, Vice Chair Elo Rivera. Just very briefly, I wanted to share that the California Transportation Foundation held their yearly award ceremony earlier this week, and our North Coast Corridor was awarded with Project of the Year in the category of Sustainable Transportation and Environmental Enhancement. This is a great accomplishment and speaks to the way that the project is designed as a multimodal approach and an environmental enhancement approach, improving our lagoons, improving the Lausanne corridor through double tracking, and as well as extending the managed lane system on the freeway. And speaking of that, next Tuesday, we will be holding a ribbon cutting ceremony for the opening of the last 4 miles between Palomar Airport Road and State Route 78 for the HOV lanes. And a couple of weeks later, so first we're going to be opening the HOV lanes in one direction, and a couple of weeks later we'll be opening the HOV lanes in the other direction. And then we're really excited about CalSTA's announcement yesterday on the Solution on Congested Corridor program, as well as the Trade Corridor. I know Colleen Clemenson is going to be speaking about that. But it really speaks, the success really speaks about the partnership that we have in this region and the quality of the projects that we're working on. And lastly, Colleen and I attended last week a Transportation Safety Summit in Sacramento. This was a gathering of local agencies, state agencies, to try to reduce the number of deaths that we have on our roads throughout California on the local system, as well as on the state highway system. We have about 12 people that die every day on California roads, 2/3 of them on the local system, 1/3 on the state highway system. We need to continue working collaboratively to make the system more forgiving when people make mistakes, but also on public education campaigns and enforcement related to aggressive driving, speeding, and impaired driving. And very importantly, also reducing the number of collisions involving pedestrians and bikes. Our pedestrians and bikes are our most vulnerable users. And when it comes to equity, pedestrians are twice, low-income people that are on foot are twice more likely to be killed in a collision than other people. So thank you for the time.
Thank you, sir. Any additional member non-agenda comments? Mr. Cabrera?
Thank you, Chair. Continuing my efforts to keep you posted on the developments at the new Terminal 1 coming to San Diego Airport. At our last meeting, the Board of Directors approved the first of 3 concession packages for the new Terminal 1, and that was awarded to High Flying Foods, which is a great partner that runs a lot of the concessions in Terminal 2 right now. And just to give folks a little bit of a preview of what's coming in this package, the concepts included Puesto, Mexican Kitchen and Bar, Parakeet Cafe, Kettner Exchange, Better Buzz Coffee, Lofty Coffee, and Moster Coffee. Yes, we had 3 coffee shops as part of the package, and Parakeet Cafe will also have coffee. A lot of coffee available in the new Terminal 1 when it comes, but we're also going to have a lot of great food. And we plan to award the final 2 packages in July, so I'll give you an update on what's coming at that point as well. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Hudson?
Thank you. I'm going to put my NCTD hat back on here. Summer's arrived when the fair opens. And as in years past, NCTD has partnered with the San Diego County Fair to offer discounted rides on public transit to the fair. I'm happy to report that MTS has joined us this year. We're all partnering to offer Fair Tripper tickets. These tickets combine admission to the fair plus a round trip ticket on the NCTD coaster, Sprinter or Breeze, and the MTS trolley or bus. Riders take transit to the beautiful Solana Beach station, where a shuttle picks them up, then drops them off at the entrance to the fair. No traffic trauma, no parking hassles, a discounted ticket to the fair, and a ride to get there. It's a pretty sweet deal. The 2023 San Diego County Fair is open June 7th through July 4th. They're closed on Mondays and Tuesdays in June. This year, the fair celebrates the great outdoors with the theme Get Out There, and it offers plenty of new rides, attractions, and culinary adventures. The Fair Tripper is available for same-day purchase via the Pronto mobile app or at NCTD and MTS ticket vending machines.
All right. Any additional non-agenda member comments? Okay. Hearing none, we will now move to agency updates. Colleen?
Thank you, Vice Chair, and good morning, board members. Hassan sends his regards. He left yesterday to represent SANDAG at the World Metropolitan Congress. SANDAG was invited to share how we use data and how we use data to do regional planning. And it's not just how we're doing it, the respect we get from a national level, but this is actually at a worldwide level. So very proud to have him there. Earlier this week, our other Deputy CEO, Ray Major, and I traveled with Councilmember Fisher to the National Association of Regional Councils. So that's the National Association of SANDAGs, I like to call it. And it was held in Detroit. We had a very early morning flight. We had a 6 a.m. morning flight. We had to be at the airport at 5. And thank you, Director Cabrera, for all the coffee that we can plan to see in the future. It was an absolute mob scene at the airport at 5 a.m. on a Sunday. I don't know if any of you have been there, but note that for your future travels. But along the lines on Detroit, I think it just is very apparent how SANDAG continues to be a leader when it comes to planning, innovation, and the whole suite of work that we do as an agency. The main thing that Ray and I were doing there was really working with the other executive directors and deputy directors to understand issues they're facing, how we can collaborate together and share information so that we can do the best work to serve all of our region's residents. In this note, one of the things we're very proud of, and thank you, Director Garardo, for bringing this up. We have been notified just in the last couple of days of a significant amount of funding that will be coming to the region, about over $250 million for projects in this region. And this is coming through state funds. Typically, we would get about 8% of the funds available. In this case, we got about 15% of the funds available. So there is $140 million for the next phase of Otay Mesa East. There's $103 million for the Bataguitos Lagoon Bridge in the Low Sand Corridor. So this will actually allow for the construction of that bridge and double tracking. It's a very old bridge, desperately needing replacement. There's also $18.5 million for what we call the Harbor Drive 2.0. So that's really deploying technology that will help the movement of goods and services. So this is super important. I know to the port, to the airport, to Caltrans. It's a partnership with SANDAG to implement those changes. So that is great news. And then just over $1 million to look at the rail grade crossings. There's 11 crossings of the low sand tracks between Old Town and downtown San Diego. 11. So you can imagine what that does in terms of timing, both traffic trying to get over the crossings and then with the trains as well. So what we'll be able to do is study how can we do a better job of grade separation that helps with safety as well. As Councilmember Edson and Losan Vice Chair Edson mentioned, the closure of the piece of the Losan train in San Clemente. We are working very closely with the executive director of Losan. I was in touch with Jason Jewell yesterday. We sent out communications to all of you about the changes in service and have made it clear that SANDAG stands ready to help however we can in making this right. And so really appreciate your support there, Councilmember Edson. Similarly, we've been in touch with MTS and wanting to assist them in the issues that they're dealing with in terms of the drivers and of buses. And I think, you know, it's a big concern when we have bus service not in South Bay and East County at the same time that we're really trying to serve underserved populations. And those are areas of concern. So definitely want to keep on top of that and support them as much as possible. Just to build on what the director, Caltrans director said about the North Coast Corridor program. So we're excited about that event. Mayor Huebner will be joining us, as I know many of you as well. So you're all invited to come out and celebrate the additional lane openings. And then just two things to wrap up with. I want to make sure that everyone saw the memo about the 2021 regional plan amendments. And just to kind of clarify where we are with that, we will be coming forward at your next meeting, holding a public hearing to discuss the plan. And then immediately following that, we will be releasing the draft environmental impact report, bringing that all together for you for your consideration in September for approval to submit to the state of California. And lastly, I wanted to invite you all join us for a beach cleanup that we will be hosting with the Surfrider Foundation next Saturday, June 17th in Imperial Beach. And I know Councilmember Fisher has already signed up to be a part of that. I look forward to joining you all out there. And thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Colleen. On behalf of the chair, I will also, I've got a bit of an update here. The independent performance auditor position was advertised last week. As a first step, the recruiters from CPS HR sent information about the job opening to 10,000 audit and finance professionals across the country. They are now following up with targeted outreach, and applications are already coming in, which is a good sign that there is strong interest in the opportunity. Pam and the recruitment subcommittee are meeting on a regular basis and gearing up for the next phases, which include conducting screening interviews in late June/early July, followed by interviews at the audit committee and board meetings in July. That concludes the updates, the agency updates. Tessa, do we have any public comment on the agency updates?
Thank you. I currently have 4 public commenters on this item. The first is Truth. Please go to the podium.
Okay, Losan, who cares? It's at its lower ridership rate yet. So World Metropolitan Congress, worldwide level. No kidding. You know, there's nothing San Diego or California going on here at SANDAG. I've already proved that. And so, Colleen, part of your job is government relation communications, right? So I'm going to ask you, why were none of our city council members or mayors invited to the SANDAG UN Habitat meeting in February? Why were only officials from Mexico invited and not a single American representative? While Nora's off in Kenya getting further orders from the United Nations, and you guys think it's okay worldwide. That's okay to you. It's not okay to me. Where's my representation? You guys are using our money and we're not getting any representation. But you know what? Do you know what the UN actually wants? They want full control of everybody on this planet. And everyone here needs to find that out before you all get yourselves any deeper into their nonsense here at SANDAG. No one's going to support you when they find out you're actually implementing the UN's 2030 agenda. So consider me your wake-up call on that point. And Beekman was right about children at the San Diego City Council.
Thank you. Your time expired. Our next speaker, Blair Beekman, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Blair Beekman here. Thanks for allowing public comment on agenda reporting on council supervisor reporting, member appointing. I wanted to comment quickly. Thank you that you talked about rail issues in North County. It's my personal feeling that as pretty and as beautiful as the rail line can be along the coast, if it's going to cost a ton of money and do some damage to the coastline in the future, it may not be worth it. The sea turtles and the the area around there is much more important to save than the train tracks. We have other choices. Good luck in that effort to work on it. I wanted to comment on, someone mentioned bus driver issues in the South Bay. Thank you for that. Good luck in the union solving its issues and the bus drivers getting what they want. And good luck how we can work towards a maturity in our policy making. It's hard to do sometimes. Good luck how we can.
Thank you. Your time expired. Our next speaker is phone number ending 899. Please go ahead.
Hi, Mary Davis here. First, I just wanted to let you all know I was in line on Zoom for non-agenda. I had my hand raised, and I would like to speak at the end of the meeting, so I am not disenfranchised. I'm not sure what happened on your end, but I do want to be recognized. And then also a quick shame on you, Vice Chair Elo Rivera, for limiting our time. For an agency that continually touts the importance of the public voice via listening and outreach sessions, your continual suppression of our voices via limiting our time is an egregious form of censorship under the guise of meeting management. Please do better.
Thank you. Our next speaker, the original draw, please go ahead.
Yeah, your guys' whole ploy to, work with the UN when they have a global agenda to take over and run everything. And your idea, either you don't know that and you're ignorant of it and you think that you're engaging with the United Nations and all of these global entities to better things. When they take control, you don't have any control left. Like with the World Health Order, that means that one entity is going to dictate it for the entire world. So when you're sitting here acting like you're playing in the sandbox and you're just kind of, lightly doing it, you're engaging in treason, and you guys have taken an oath to protect our rights against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and you're not doing that. And now you've become a domestic enemy because you guys have gone against the people to push a world agenda that is set out to enslave all the people. That means you guys too. Even though they're puppeteering you around right now, you're included in that and you will have no control. Zero, zilch, nada.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Our final speaker on this item, Karina Contreras, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. My name is Karina Contreras. I'm the Transportation Policy Advocate for Climate Action Campaign. And I just want to thank you all for the update on the Lausanne corridor. This corridor is incredibly important to our region. Not only is it labeled by the Department of Defense as part of their strategic rail corridor, it really helps to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by ensuring that freight can move through this corridor and it doesn't have to go on our highways, further congesting and polluting our air. So thank you for that update. And I hope that we are able to stabilize and realign this corridor to make it a lot better. Thanks.
And that concludes the public comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Tessa. All right, we'll now move to member comments and begin with Mayor Minto.
Good morning. Colleen, that was a great report on that nearly $250 million. And appreciate the fact some of the folks that sit around the board are going to get some things done. But I want to put in my request for the next $250 million to happen in, East County along the the 94 and 125 and the 78 up in there in North County and of course the 52 and the 67. So I'd be probably remiss in not asking for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Minto. How about all of it? Just, yeah. Instead of a quarter, we'll just do a half and spread it out everywhere. All right, we'll go to Mayor Jones.
Thank you. My 2 cents on that would be all of the promises that we made to our to our county residents. Anyway, I wanted to just talk a little bit about our new transportation plan and how things like what's happening on the Lausanne corridor and then also with the MTS strike is really would affect people's lives. And Mayor Vasquez and I were just kind of talking about that a second ago. And there are seniors that are literally stranded in South County. So we need to keep in mind that we need to really figure out how we can continue to move people around with these different things that are outside of our control 100%. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. All right. We will now go to, just want to confirm, Councilmember Burkholder, you're good on this item?
I am. I was actually, Colleen actually said what I was going to say, so we're good. Thanks.
All right. Just want to make sure. And we will now go to Councilmember Fisher.
Thanks, Vice Chair. I just wanted to give kind of my perspective of the trip we took to Detroit. It was kind of surreal. Again, I'm in full transparency. I didn't look to see where Detroit was on the map. I never thought I'd be going there. So it was kind of surreal to wake up Sunday morning, 3 miles from the Mexican border, and then in the evening time, put my head on my pillow a mile away from the Canadian border. And so it really made me realize how similar that Detroit is to our region. They do share a major border. They have $700 million of commerce that traverses their border daily, which is really an amazing figure to me. One thing I will say is we had the opportunity to mingle with some other NPO leaders, and I can tell you far and none that some of these organizations exist to fulfill the requirements that are set by law, and they check the boxes probably pretty well, but none of them have the lofty goals this organization has. The firepower with the employees and just again, what they do for the region. Again, I'm not trying to be judgmental, but it really opened my eyes to how important that this agency is to our region and how they work together. I heard a lot of people talk that they are able to accomplish their goals by working with private and public partnerships. And so I think that, despite what some of the people in our community may feel about SANDAG, I think that if they really understood the amount of work that they take on willingly and to make the region better is really amazing. So I'm grateful for that. And we did try some Detroit pizza. So if you ever get to Detroit, try the pizza. It was something a little bit different I've never had, but we thoroughly enjoyed it. So thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Fisher. All right, we will now move to the consent agenda. Tessa, do we have any public comments on the consent agenda?
Thank you. Prior to the public comments and any action on this item, I just want to announce that the draft agenda under the Policy Advisory Committee actions for the July 14 meeting was amended to add a closed session item on the SANDAG building update. Lease update. Thank you. Our first public speaker on this item is Truth. Please go to the podium.
Right. I'll believe it when I see it, Jack. All right, item 3. I love when the minute said that Truth spoke in opposition to various SANDAG projects and programs. That's dead on accurate. It's also funny to read that I spoke about more consent items than anybody else. Credit to the county for that skill. The minutes also mentioned Mexico's Pablo Limas and Carlos Gonzalez Gutierrez, who, even though they're from a foreign country, were given unlimited speaking time, while us Americans, who are supposed to be represented here, were limited, once again, to a measly 1 minute on items that directly affect us. That's taxation without representation, as usual. And item 4, on May 16th, the Senate Transportation Subcommittee held a hearing entitled Setting the Stage for a Resilient Rail Future. Ray Major talked about SANDAG's plans. Resilient rail. Unless that's a bullet train, a Shinkansen made by Japan, there is no rail in our future. Let's be real. But we all know the real plans. The United Nations Agenda 2030 Social Sustainable Development Goals, which aims to control all resources on the planet, including humans, our settlements, and our mobility.
Your time expired. Our next speaker, Consuelo, please go to the podium.
Pay attention, San Diego. It's lame that Ikarat and Nora aren't here visiting local cities and neighborhoods, listening to the people who they actually work for and are supposed to be working for. Does Gustavo know what's got more deaths than, does Gustavo know what's got more deaths than on the roads? Do you know? Okay, the number of people killed by big pharma and pharmaceuticals. You going to get rid of them too? No. Safety and equality. It's what they're about, right? When speaking about government, anything, people hate you and everything you stand for. And they're just too enslaved to escape the rat race you all continue to keep them in. UN Agenda 21 is here. Get involved, brothers and sisters.
Thank you. Our next public speaker on this item is the original draw. Please go ahead.
As we talk about public policy and you guys enforcing this new way of transit, you change your policies all the time to be able to, bring in other things, but I never hear you changing it to make mandatory bathrooms a part of building transit projects because you want to say that you want to promote public health and well-being and safety, then this is something that would ensure and improve the lives and well-being of others and not just those who are directly concerned right now, but others in the future. So if you sit here and you talk about policy, you need to be thinking about public policy that regards restrooms that must be mandatory anytime there's a project that you have public transit for. And there's opportunities to do that where you guys don't even have to spend money that I'll share later. But if you guys want to sit here and talk about this and promoting those things, then you need to be promoting the enforcement of making sure that bathrooms are somewhere near public transit so that it's available for the workers and the riders.
Your time has expired. Our next public speaker, Blair Beekman, please go ahead.
Hi, Blair Beekman. I passed on this item. Thank you for the words about the trip to Detroit, though. It was nice to hear that. Thank you.
And our final public speaker on this item is Paul Henkin. Please go ahead. And you are self-muted.
Great, it's working. You can hear me, huh? SANDAG, the board is like a schoolyard bully. Its mission is transit planning, not urban planning. It's a regional agency, the weighted vote, putting 4 or 5 cities in charge of its decisions is not serving its purpose. When it's a regional agency. It should be considering every member, every region, not just a few. When are the rest of you mayors and ex officio people going to wake up and realize that you're failing your constituents by tacitly agreeing to this? It's a real scam on both you and your constituents.
Thank you. Your time expired. And that concludes the public comments on this item.
All right. So we will now move to member comments and entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. We will begin the conversation with Mayor Jones unless there's a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Vice Chair Eva Rivera. My question or my comment would be on the July 14th. Sorry, my notes are messed up. The July 14th meeting of the 2025 regional plan funding. And during that, it is a workshop format. So I think it's important that we have our direction really solidified by then. Our previous meeting on June 23rd, we will actually be discussing again, the removal of the RUC from the 2021 plan. So in the 2025 update, I think we need to make sure that we are discussing, and I'm hoping this could be part of like the agenda that actually comes forward, that we do talk about the strategies of the funding of whether we're going to have a road user charge, and then also the conversion of lanes to toll roads, which it's over 800 miles of those that were in the 2021 plan. And I think how this impacts our lower income folks is really of great importance to communities that live further away from businesses, business centers, much like San Marcos, North County in general. But I think also having the discussion of what other possibilities are out there, because during the 21 plan, one of my biggest issues, and I brought this up repeatedly, was that we didn't have options. We didn't have, okay, if we don't employ a road user charge, we could do this, this, and this, and that will actually make up the greenhouse gas reduction. So I think having that in mind and just moving forward in a way that really is sensible and explains what the different possibilities would be very important to cities like mine, where, you know, these sorts of strategies will affect our community very, very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. So seeing no additional requests to speak to the consent agenda, do we have a motion to
Move to approve.
Got a motion here from Mayor Huebner. Can we count that as a second, Mayor Minto? All right. Thank you. So we've got a motion and a second on the floor to approve the consent agenda. Let's please record your vote.
And that motion passes unanimously with those members present.
All right, thank you, Tessa. Let's move to item number 5 for a presentation on the Transnet proposed 2023 series bond issuance. Andre, once you're ready, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, members of the board. So this item before you today has been to the ITALK as a initial orientation of the item, as well as to the Transportation Committee. We were here at your last board meeting as an informational item. Last week, we went to the Transportation Committee where we got a recommendation by the TC for approval of the documents that are in front of you today. And today we'll be actually taking a deep dive into the documents that we are seeking approval. So besides the SANDAG staff that have worked on this 2023 bond financing, we have also assembled a team. Next to me here is Victor Shu. He is our disclosure counsel on this deal. Next to him is Brian Forbath. He is our bond counsel on the deal. And then to the very left is Peter Schellenberger. He's with PFM, our financial advisors. Also in the audience with us today are from Wells Fargo, who is the senior underwriter on this deal, is Julie Berger, as well as from Goldman Sachs, Ruth Pan, who is our co-senior underwriter on this deal. We also have 3 co-managers on this deal, which is Bank of America, JP Morgan, and Ramirez Bank. So when this item was before you 2 weeks ago as an informational item, we spent some time on the proposed recap of the deal, the size and structure, the credit ratings. Today, our focus will be on the bond documents, but I'll touch on items 1, 2, and 3 as well. So this is our current bond portfolio. This was what we call Transnet 2, which was approved in 2004. So the very first series was issued in 2008. And generally, we have been to the bond markets every couple years, either for new money issuance or a refunding. What we're doing this time in 2023 is actually a refunding. The refunding that we're looking at is the very first bonds that we issued. They were variable rate debt, which were overlaid by a swap. That's why it's called here a synthetic fixed rate swap. So the swaps made the variable rates fixed by a synthetic method. We're also looking to take advantage of current market conditions and take out a portion of the 2019A bonds that are currently taxable, and they will become tax exempt. So just looking at the composition of the bonds here, you can see on the left the 2.3 billion that we have, the 16% that is synthetic rate. That's actually the portion that we're looking to take out. And then you can see the difference between our taxable and tax exempt bonds. And so again, we're focusing on taking out the entire synthetic fixed rate and a portion of the taxable. So again, why are we issuing these bonds? Ultimately, by issuing these bonds, we will be lowering the borrowing costs through debt service savings. The numbers this week showed approximately a $1.3 million savings annually through 2048. Secondly, we're going to be simplifying the portfolio by eliminating the interest rate swaps and the variable rate bonds. On a quarterly basis, we provide a market update to the board. In there, we've generally said that the swaps have been performing as intended. However, just to de-risk our portfolio, the markets with the increase in interest rates have given us the opportunity to get out of the swaps and be more conservative in our overall portfolio. Also, LIBOR, which has been an index which our swaps been tied to for, well, since 2008. This is going to be sunsetting. The new index will be called SOFR. That'll start July 1st. Although we don't anticipate, or at least our financial advisors and our bankers don't anticipate too much of a change initially, down the road, we don't know what the index will do. And so again, the opportunities for us to get out of the swaps and why risk future SOFR rates, not knowing exactly what they will be, considering it's a brand new rate. So again, the summary of the transaction is to first take out the entire variable rate bonds, which is $383 million, terminate the associated swaps with it, and then refund a portion of the 2019A bonds. Currently, based on market conditions, approximately maybe $100 million is what we see that we could actually take out and have some savings of the $436 million that is currently outstanding. But the market has been very volatile the last few months. We talked earlier about the executive committee that at least the debt ceiling is behind us. That is something that the market was really anticipating. The continued inflationary pressures. So we've seen interest rates really been pretty volatile. So when we go to the market, we'll see exactly the amount that we'll take out of the 2019 A's. So again, the size and structure, anywhere from $350 million to $820 million in refunded bonds. Right now, we're saying closer to about the $450 to $500 million range. There will be a savings of 22 to 35 million. That's the range that we've seen as we've presented these items to you. Again, it's not as much about the savings in this particular refunding as maybe in the past refundings that we've had, but this one is more to de-risk our portfolio. And then this will be tax exempt, and again, it will be on the senior lien. So I mentioned last time that anytime that we go to issue new bonds or refund bonds, we have to meet with the rating agencies. We didn't meet with the rating agencies 2 weeks ago. Just this week, they reiterated the highest ratings of the AAA that we have by both Standard & Poor's and Fitch. We're actually also pleased that Fitch upgraded during their most recent review our subordinate lien from a AA to a AA+. And then our current ratings, our junior lien, which is basically where our TIFIA loans sit, is at an A+. So in front of you, there's 8 sets of documents. You did see the PFM memo in the last package. That's in there again. But then the new items 2 through 8 is what the attorneys will go through here shortly. Again, the financial advisor memo, I just gave you a very 10-minute brief update about the market, the swap terminations, the 2023 refunding. A lot of that is in a lot more detail in the financial advisor memo. And before I go into the actual bond documents, I'd like to turn it over to our general counsel, John Cook, who will give you a little bit more information about the fiduciary responsibilities that the board has relative to issuing bonds.
Thank you very much, Andre. And Mayor Minto had a question about this last time, and I'll start a little bit with talking about this term fiduciary responsibility. A fiduciary responsibility recognizes that you're acting in a position of trust. And in such a position, you must act in the best interest of the person or parties who are putting that trust in you. So as applied here, it calls on you to act in the best interest of potential investors who are relying upon the information that we're putting before them, that they'll rely upon in the preliminary official statement. So as detailed in the report, in making the proposed approval that's before you today, you as board members and as the San Diego County Regional Transportation Commission have a fiduciary responsibility to become familiar with the documents related to this proposed bond transaction that are before you today to make sure that you're making an informed decision in your vote and to ensure that there are no inaccuracies concerning SANDAG or the commission in those documents. In particular, board members should review the draft preliminary official statement or POS, and that's attachment 5 to items 5's report. And within that within that document, the risk factors section, which begins on page 132 of the PDF of this item. The preliminary official statement is the primary disclosure statement that investors review in evaluating SANDAG and the commission and helping them to decide whether to participate in this transaction. In reviewing the documents, you should ensure that to the best of your knowledge, all of the factual statements are correct in all material respects, and that the information does not contain any untrue or misleading statements of a material fact or fail to state any material fact that would make the information in any of the documents misleading. To the extent that you're aware of any inaccuracies, you should make that fact known. And I will encourage you as you review these documents, please take advantage of staff and the professionals who are here to ask any questions that are needed to make sure that you can make the best informed decision that you can. When carrying out your fiduciary responsibilities, you are allowed to rely on SANDAG professional staff, bond counsel, and disclosure counsel, all of whom are present at today's meeting to assure that you are in compliance with the anti-fraud provisions of the federal securities laws, as long as that reliance is reasonable. And in order for your reliance upon staff to be reasonable, you must first make complete disclosure of any potentially material mistake or omission in the documents that is apparent to you upon your review of the documents. Second, request the professional's advice as to what disclosure is proper. Third, receive advice regarding the appropriate disclosure. And then finally, you can rely in good faith on that advice. SANDAG's Bond and Disclosure Council will share with you further information regarding the documents that are before you and what disclosure is proper. I'll also share with you that Hassan Akrada as SANDAG's CEO, Andre Dujan as its CFO, Dawn Batiste as its Innovative Finance Director, Marcus Pasquale as Senior Accountant, Ray Major as the Deputy Executive Director and Chief Economist, and I as your General Counsel have all reviewed the draft bond documents. And to the best of all of staff's knowledge, all of the statements in these documents are true and correct in all material respects, and the information does not contain any untrue or misleading statement of a material fact or omit to state any material fact that would make the information in those documents regarding SANDAG misleading to any potential investors. With that, I'll turn it back to Brian Forbath, who is going to walk you through the proposed resolution that's before you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Forbath from Charlie Yaka. The item before you for consideration this morning is a resolution which authorizes the issuance of the 2023 refunding bonds. And that resolution approves a variety of documents that are necessary to effectuate the transaction. Those documents are listed there for you. It's the preliminary official statement, the 13th supplemental to indenture, the bond purchase agreement, the continued disclosure agreement, dealer management agreement, and the invitation to tender bonds. We'll walk through each of those in a second here. The resolution also authorizes staff and members of the board to make other decisions and approve other documents necessary to carry out the transactions. So the first document is the 13th supplement to the senior indenture, and that's really the contract that the commission is entering into with the bond owners. And this supplements the master indenture that's been outstanding for some period of time, and it sets forth all the salient terms of the financial transaction, including how the bonds are going to be redeemed, how the swap termination payments are going to be paid, the provisions related to the tender and purchase of the bonds, and how costs of issuance are paid. The second document before you is the bond purchase agreement, which is the contract that the commission will enter into with the underwriters. And in that bond purchase agreement, there's certain representations and warranties that the commission makes to the underwriters and to the marketplace that all the information in the official statement is true and accurate, all material specs, there's no material omissions. And it also identifies certain closing conditions and requirements, the delivery of opinions of bond counsel, disclosure counsel, general counsel, et cetera, that are required to be delivered at closing. Finally, I'm going to hand this over to Victor Hsu to talk about the preliminary official statement.
Thank you, Brian. As Andre mentioned, I'm Victor Hsu with Norton Rose Fulbright. We're serving as the Commission's disclosure counsel for this transaction. Attachment 5 is the preliminary official statement. The preliminary official statement, or POS, contains information, statistics, and summaries regarding the Commission, the Transnet sales tax revenues, and the bonds that prospective purchasers are likely to need in order to make an informed investment decision. The Commission has retained us as disclosure counsel to assist the Commission in preparing the POS and to complete it once the pricing and sale of the bonds has occurred. The data included in the POS and in the final official statement after pricing will be reviewed by Commission staff and the financial advisor, and the summaries of the legal documents and the bonds and other content in each document will be reviewed by bond counsel and underwriters counsel. The Commission is ultimately responsible to ensure that the POS and OS are accurate, contain all information material to investors, and do not omit any material information. For example, if a member is aware of a serious effort to put an initiative on the ballot to repeal the Transnet sales tax, that information should be brought to the attention of Commission staff. There is at present, of course, no such initiative, and the POS, since it does not generally mention remote and speculative contingencies like that, particularly as the Transnet sales tax is protected by the impairment of contracts clauses of the US and California constitutions. Thank you. I had a problem last week as well. Attachment 6 is the continuing disclosure agreement. For the underwriters to comply with applicable securities laws and sell the bonds, the Commission must agree in a written undertaking to provide, 1, annual reports to the municipal marketplace of certain information, including sales tax revenues and audited financial statements, and 2, notices of certain enumerated events, including payment delinquencies, defeasances, and rating changes within 10 business days of their occurrence. The Commission has retained Digital Assurance Certification LLC, or DAC, to assist the Commission in posting information for investors on the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board's Electronic Municipal Market Access, or EMA system, as required under the Continuing Disclosure Agreement. DAC has assisted the Commission in prior bond issues. I will now turn it over to Brian.
Thank you, Victor. So 2 more documents to go. But so attachment 7 is the dealer manager agreement. And that's essentially a contract between the Commission and Goldman Sachs and Wells Fargo, pursuant to which they serve as the dealers for a solicitation of existing bond owners to come in and tender their bonds to the Commission for the Commission to purchase. That agreement is much like the bond purchase agreement that we spoke about earlier, that it contains certain representations and warranties of the Commission, and it requires certain deliverables of the Commission to be delivered in connection with the tender opinions and closing certificates, et cetera. And the last document before you is the invitation to tender. And that's essentially the solicitation that's going to go out along with the preliminary official statement that Victor spoke about. That will be an invitation out to investors that if you hold the 2019 bonds and you're interested in tendering them back to the Commission at a certain price, it sets forth the sort of the rules of how you go about doing, the parameters of how it goes about happening, and essentially how the prices get set for that. And with that, I will hand it over to Peter Schellenberg.
I think
Andre, I'm sorry, Andre.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. So I just, the last slide in front of you is the estimated cost of this issuance, approximately $1.9 million. I won't read all the line items, but the biggest one is obviously the underwriting syndicate. Right now, combined between the dealer management fee and the underwriting, it's just over $1 million. And this is based on approximately $500 million of bonds being sold. If there's any more than that, that number goes up. Generally, the other ones stay fixed. Also, this number is net. So earlier I told you there's potential of savings of 22 million to 30 million. That includes this number. That is the cost of the issuance. So lastly, I just wanted to talk about the timeline. Pending your approval here today would be posting the preliminary official statement and the invitation to tender. The week of June 26, a group of us from SANDAG management team will be meeting with investors in New York and answering questions there. That same week, we will price the bonds, and we anticipate that within 2 weeks from the time that we sell the bonds, we will actually close the bonds. And with that, the recommendation here in front of you today is the Board of Directors, acting as the Regional Transportation Commission, is asked to adopt RTC Resolution number 2023-06, authorizing up to $820 million of refunding of certain outstanding bonds, termination of fixed payer and basis swaps, and execution and distribution of the documents. That concludes our presentation. Vice Chair, we'd be glad to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. Tessa, do we have any public comment on this item?
Thank you. We do. The first public commenter, Alan C. Please go to the podium. You will be followed by Truth.
Oh, yes, we got plenty to talk about. We need Mary back here, the auditor from last meeting, because why are we giving almost $2 million to these guys? Let's look back at Transnet, came out in 1987, voted by the people, tax, not bond. And then 2004, the voters were asked, I will quote, shall San Diego County voters continue the existing half-cent sales tax for 40 more years, including creating an independent taxpayer oversight committee to conduct yearly audits ensuring voter mandates are met, which means not bonds, but expanding the existing freeways. I mentioned them all last time. Look at your email. I sent you all a copy. Thank you, Francesca, for sending these forward. Look at it, read it, and ask yourself, why are we issuing bonds? Why are we spending more than what's in the kettle? Enough of this. People are suffering. You're taxing us, and you keep putting more stuff and giving it to the big wigs and not helping the guy in the street live in the tent. I yield back.
Our next public speaker, Truth, who will be followed by Consuelo. Truth, please come to the podium.
First, this item was 215 pages. Second, people paid into those Transnet projects just to end up with 3 new toll roads and 1 more on the way for the 125. Third, I was happy to hear at a recent IB City Council meeting that Jack seems to know what bonds actually are. He likened them to credit cards. That's debt. SANDAG's total long-term debt is over $2.3 billion. See, I have the answers for Alan. SANDAG's actually just like Meals on Wheels. They've got the people's tax money coming in by the thousands, and they've also have millions and millions in debt obligations. The whole structure is synthetic. The termination is going to cost about $11.6 million, and that debt will supposedly be covered by the refunding. Translation equals more gambling. But apparently, Hassan's ready to de-risk SANDAG's debt portfolio. And I say Hassan because just like I knew it was him that blocked the audit, I know all this debt swapping is his work too. SANDAG's run into a Frankenstein drunk on power, and it's at its last days of the casino. So I say let's let the Russian roulette go crashing, and let's leave all this debt in Hassan's hands while he's gone.
Thank you. Your time expired. Consuelo is our next speaker, who will be followed by Michael Brando. Consuelo.
Okay. Pay attention. People are suffering. Their only goal is keeping us all more and more in debt. Get involved, pay attention. These puppet pawns are all work for the predator class, the ones who actually believe they are superior and untouchable. They're not the elite, the weakest of the weak. They're the ones pulling the strings and who do not care about you or the children on the planet. Our future generations will pay dearly if you keep idle. It is up to each and every one of us to participate in creating the world we want to see. It is not the right of a small group of psychopaths to determine our futures. They're trying to break us. Don't let them.
Our next speaker, Michael Brendo, who will be followed by Dr. Timothy Bilash.
Michael, wow. You know, most people don't know this organization exists, and just coming here a few times, it's interesting to learn so much in so little time, you know, with the fact that there's all this talk about the road usage tax or surcharge or, you know, vehicles, mild travels tax and all that. And then we've got these people here that are involved in all these big banks, big financing, acting like they're doing good on behalf of the people when the people don't even know what's going on. I mean, we're talking about taxes and debt obligations and really drowning people into a road to nowhere. Why can't we get back to something simple like this? Why not? Why not? We've made life so complicated, and this is just complicating it more with all this burden that's going to fall on people. And they're waking up, and I know some of you in this room are too, and that's a good thing. Thank you for listening.
Our next public speaker, Dr. Bilash, who will be followed by our first virtual speaker, Paul Henkin. Dr. Bilash.
I see I have 1 minute. I'll try to be brief. My name is Timothy Bilash. I'm in Mid-Coastal County, Delmar area. I want to commend the finance staff of SANDAG and the banks they're working with. I know how difficult accounting is, and the world of finance is much more difficult to audit and keep track of. And these issues I've heard it at several presentations, will decrease the costs to the average taxpayer, not increase them. Finance is very complex, and I would ask my public commenters with me to be cognizant of that. I would like to pay attention in the time remaining to Appendix E. And I just had a question. I was understanding that the bonds are going to be re-rated at a AAA rating, which is what's going to save the interest paid. But the depository bank in Schedule E I see is a AA+. And I am a little confused as to whether that is an issue and again, because I don't have the training, I'd appreciate
Thank you. Your time expired. Our next public speaker, Paul Henkin, will be followed by the original draw. Paul, please go ahead.
I wish SANDAG's public comment complied with their fiduciary duties. So they want to pay $1.8 million to redeem $800,000 bonds. Doesn't make sense to me, but anyway. Transonet is a tax to fund the regional plan. As I said, SANDAG's mission is transportation planning, not urban planning. The regional plan amounts to urban planning, favors certain cities as transit hubs, divides people, city, country, suburban, pitted against each other, lower income, upper income, and so on. Meanwhile, recurring landslides undermine the train tracks. Better fix that. It's nice to lower your debt service, but I think Transonet should simply be abolished. Fix what is broken. Thanks.
Our next speaker, the original draw, will be followed by the final speaker on this item, Blair Beekman. The original draw, please go ahead.
The more we talk about fiat money acting like it's ever going to have any value, I mean, it's pretty crazy to do that, because all we're doing is talking about debt and how to keep ourselves in debt and how to pretend to make money out of thin air and just throw it around. And you guys do have a fiduciary responsibility with us people as the beneficiary. You are supposed to do what is in the best interest of the people in every action that you put forward and take. Yet you frivolously throw our money around like, it doesn't really matter and that people aren't working hard for it. You continue to keep us in debt just like the rest of the government. It's an intentional ploy. But if you guys, if the people were doing this and being in debt, you take everything they have, yet what we're doing is giving all the money of the people that has been hard earned to these big banks instead of actually really doing what is best for the people. So, I mean, people got to understand this fiat currency is worth nothing if it's not backed by anything.
Thank you. Your time expired. Our final public speaker, Blair Beekman, please go ahead.
Hi, Blair Beekman. You had this item last week, I think. Thank you for bringing it again. I tried talking a few items about the concepts of how to use the money. I don't know if it can be used, but at least I hope it gave ideas that I'm really into efficiency bus travel. More buses per hour as a way to really it creates speed a lot better than actually speeding up buses. And to get a bus every 10 minutes is an interesting concept. I wish this sort of money can work towards. It probably won't, but just to remind yourselves, and hopefully it can be a way to incentivize SANDAG, SDM test drivers at this point. Really good luck in their efforts for their case, what they're trying to work towards. And thanks again for hearing me out on this item.
And that concludes the public comments on this item.
All right. Thank you, Tessa. We will begin with Mayor Huebner, and then we will go to Mayor Jones.
Very good. Thank you. And thank you for that great presentation and thorough presentation. I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to adopt resolution 2023-06. I'm quite comfortable with this, given the economic environment that we're in now. What we're doing, this is not new debt that we're taking on. We're taking old debt and taking the risk out of it because many of them were in variable interest rate vehicles, and we're now putting them into a fixed rate environment. And so de-risking, I like that phrase. I've never heard it before. And also at the same time, we're able to save a little bit of money. So to me, it seems like a very wise move. And as fiduciary, one of the fiduciaries around this table, I feel quite comfortable with this. When I was right out of college, I was a stockbroker with a top Wall Street firm for 5 years. So I'm somewhat familiar with these markets, and so I'm somewhat versed in all of the information that we've been talking about. And so I think the read for me was a little bit easier maybe than some others, but I am quite comfortable and happy to make that motion.
Thank you, Mayor Huebner. So we've got a motion there. I'll go ahead and second that for purposes of a discussion, and we will now go to Mayor Jones.
Thank you. I do have some questions. Okay, so first of all, this does not extend the bond period, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then also the $10 to $23 million approximately after our cost, where will those savings and those dollars that are projected on the future sales tax revenue, where are those going to be allocated? Do we have an answer on that?
So we are currently also updating our plan of finance that'll come to the board later this year. And at that point, you'll determine the savings. Right now, they, as I mentioned earlier, approximately $1.3 million annually. So certainly that'll go towards projects.
So when you say projects, are those Transnet projects or are those projects that are currently in our new transportation plan?
It could be a combination of both.
Okay, and then I do have a question, and I think this might be for Victor. And this is on the preliminary official statement on page 31, which is 134 of the agenda. It starts out under the Prop 218. In 2004, the sales tax extension ordinance received the approval of more than 2/3 of the voter as required by the article. And then it goes on the next page. I'm going to leave out that part in between that doesn't really matter as much. It says in the first paragraph, in the opinion of the commission, However, any attempt by the voters to use the initiative provision under Prop 218 to rescind or levy and collection of the sales tax in a manner would prevent the payment of debt service on the 2023 series bond, would violate the impairment clause of the United States Constitution and accordingly would be precluded. Well, it's saying that it's the opinion of the commission, which I think is us, the board. It feels like this is a legal opinion, so I'm a little uncomfortable with this, but if you could please clarify what that actually means, maybe in non-legal terms, I think that would be helpful for us that are trying to make a decision here.
Certainly, I'll give it my best shot. It's correct that that Prop 218 does provide for an initiative process that potentially could repeal the transit tax. However, bonds have been issued that are secured by this tax, and any repeal would essentially abrogate the contract that the commission has made to bondholders under the indenture and the bonds themselves. And any material impairment of that is prohibited by the US Constitution, the contracts clause. The California Constitution has an equivalent impairment of contracts clause. There has been judicial case law on this, and essentially, if you materially impair security for bonds, that's going to be struck down as unconstitutional.
So, sorry, just a quick question on that. So if it's a legal thing, because there is case law that actually proves that up, why does it have to have us having a legal opinion as to saying that it's in our opinion? I'm a little uncomfortable with that phrase. I just wonder, does it really need to be in there?
I think it's appropriate disclosure to let folks know that although there is the potential for an initiative, countering that is the fact that we do have the protection of the impairment of contracts clause. I think the language about in the view of the commission is a way to let the reader know that this is not a determination that's the commission's to make. It's if it is a controversy that does come up, if there is an initiative, if this transit sales tax is repealed, it'll be litigated. And essentially, this is a decision for courts to make. So we have that language in there to distinguish between the commission and the judiciary.
Well, if it was just left out, then we're not, putting our 2 cents in worth, and it would just go to the legal system anyway. I just don't see the need to have it actually in there. I just, talking about fiduciary responsibility, I'm just a little uncomfortable with that. I'm wondering if it's possible that we strike that one part of the paragraph and leave everything else. Would that make sense?
Well, essentially everything in the preliminary official statement is coming from the commission. It's the commission's document. It's the commission's disclosures. Again, I think what we're intending to do with this phrasing is to show that it's the commission's view, but it's not the final word, since the final word will come from the courts. But we can consider some alternate language to address your concern.
Well,
Just very quick, Mayor, just because I think there's an opportunity for a little bit of confusion here. Sir, when you're saying commission, you're referencing SANDAG and the board. Is that accurate?
The San Diego County Regional Transportation Commission.
Which is us.
Yeah, I just wanted, because we're not typically referred to as a commission. I want to make sure there wasn't any confusion there.
Yeah, that's why I said I'm assuming that's us. And yeah, so I think just saying that it's our opinion, I feel like that is us making a determination, which I don't think, maybe some of us are lawyers. I know actually Mr. Duncan is, but I'm not a lawyer. I just don't feel comfortable making a legal opinion in a document. It makes me uncomfortable. Could we just strike that part and it would still have, I think at the end of the day, the same intent, but I know people like me, I would feel more comfortable if it wasn't contained within this document. I don't know. I'll just leave it there. Maybe you need to think about it.
Yeah,
thoughts.
Well, Andre, what?
Victor, can I ask what?
Yes, go ahead.
Might address Mayor Jones's question here. If in this sentence, if this read, if in the opinion of disclosure counsel to the opinion, to the commission, disclosure council of the commission. If we inserted those words recognizing that the opinion is yours and not necessarily individual members of the commission, your opinion, would that materially impact or negatively impact this transaction?
No, I don't think it would.
And then I've already brought it up, so I feel comfortable enough that I've actually said something about it that I don't really think it should be our opinion. And if they're going to take responsibility for that.
If we
I think
inserted that, would that address your
I
concern?
think, yeah, I think so. Yes.
All right. We can make
So
that
with,
change.
because there's been a motion made, and as the seconder, I'm also comfortable with that change. Mayor Jones, any additional questions or comments?
Well, just one. Okay, so just to be crystal clear for and anyone that's here today, it is not increasing the debt range time-wise, and it's actually lowering the payments. And we are going to decide at a later date where those future revenues are going. And it could be somewhere that is not actually for the Transnet ordinance, because that I think is, people voted on something. If we're saying now we're going to put that elsewhere, I just want to make sure that when will that come back? I guess it would be a reallocation of the funds in what you were talking about.
Okay, so the first two things, you're correct. We are, the duration of the bonds is the same as currently. We are lowering the debt service payments. The third item, though, anything that is related to Transnet will be spent within Transnet. So when you say outside of Transnet, no, these are Transnet funds, and we'll be coming back to the board at a later time with a plan of finance that'll say specifically what projects we're spending our revenues on.
Okay, the plan of finance. Okay, so let me just sorry. Thank you for your indulgence. So when you're talking about the plan of finance, there are things that are in the new transportation plan that rely on, it's in the funding document that we're relying on Transnet dollars to pay for that new regional plan. I guess my question is specifically, does that mean that the regional plan, only the parts of it that were actually originally in Transnet? Or does it mean just some clarification on that, because I'm unsure what that actually means.
I'm not sure how to best answer that question, but again, so we bring the plan of finance to the board. That plan of finance is approved or modified or changed, but whatever we're saving, ultimately the board will decide where that money goes based on staff recommendation.
Okay, so,
Go ahead, yeah.
thank you.
Huntington. I'm the Director of Financial Planning, and the Transnet program is within my group. So let me just respond to that. We cannot change the projects that are eligible for Transnet dollars without a 2/3 vote of this board or a 2/3 vote of the people. So the Transnet funds that may be coming back, they would then get allocated to other Transnet projects. If we want to take those funds, if we want to change the projects, it would have to be approved by this board or by the people.
Okay, so quick question on that. The 2/3 majority, is it 2/3 of the provision during the original Transnet when it passed, or is it of the majority today, being that we have a weighted vote that has changed?
I'm going to send this to John, your legal counsel. We have an opinion on that, and he'll give that to you.
Yeah, we've addressed this, I think in the past, but ultimately the ordinance says 2/3 vote of the commission pursuant to its standard voting mechanism. The standard voting mechanism is defined per the Regional Transportation Commission Act as SANDAG's voting laws, and SANDAG's voting laws are a tally vote followed by a weighted vote. And so it is the current voting system as dictated by state law of SANDAG and thus the commission.
Well, Mr. Kirk, actually it was the tally vote or in addition to the weighted vote. Now it is the tally vote and the weighted vote.
It has
it's not an
changed.
or, okay. So I personally would like to I mean, this is kind of splitting hairs, but it would be good to have an outside opinion on that at a later date. We don't have to do that right now because it will come back to us. I think it's just important that if we do the new weighted vote, I think that really is going against the residents and what they originally voted for in Transnet. So we're not going to decide that here today. I'm actually pretty comfortable with that one change in this preliminary official statement. However, we'll have this discussion, I guess, at a later date. Thank you so much, Susan, for your clarification, and you too, Andre. Appreciate it. Mr. Kirk, too.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Jones. So we will now go to Mayor Minto, followed by Councilmember Molina. Just as a reminder, we want to leave as much time as possible for the next item that we have, which is our discussion around the regional plan. So with that, Mayor Minto.
Yeah, mine's going to be really quick because we talked about cost savings and all that stuff, but unless I missed it, I didn't hear what the number is. About $1 million, a little over $1 million to do this refinancing. But what is the actual cost savings over time?
So again, this number is varying, but let's say today it's approximately $20 million net present value savings, which equates to about $1.3 million between now and when the program ends in 2048.
So is it $20 million we're saving, or
$20 million is the net present value savings, correct?
And I could add to that if you like, please.
Because that you gave me two numbers, so that it made it a little bit confusing.
Okay, so the 20 million is over the time period. The 1.3 million is annually.
Okay, that was what I need to have clarified, because I think it's good value, save $20 million, well, $19 million over time. Thanks.
And I'll add to that. We often state numbers in present value terms, but we spend dollars in as they actually come in gross inflated terms, if you will. So that gross savings is 25 million. Through 2048, you will save $25 million according to current rates. If you discount that back and state it into today's dollars, as Andre points out, it's $20 million.
Is that also because there's a compounding effect on savings?
Essentially, yes, and it's industry standard. We like to, folks like to sort of economically discount those dollars back and state it in present value terms.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Minto. Councilmember Molina.
Yes, thank you very much, Vice Chair. Thank you, Mr. Dusijan. You mentioned, or you showed a slide previously to this one on the timeline of what's to come. And I just wanted some clarification after the July dates on that timeline. I understand you're going to go to New York and you're going to do the dealings and everything like that. I didn't see a date where you would be coming back to the board with the result of that. Is that planned? Will the board receive the information after that time?
Yes, absolutely. So generally what we do is we have a quarterly market update report that we bring to you every quarter. And that's generally when we kind of report out what the actual refunding was, the amount that we saved, et cetera. So that will be coming back to you. Yes.
Thank you. And for clarification, the decision made today, that pretty much is the final decision, and then you will have your direction to go and do that. We will not be voting on this any further?
I believe your vote is upcoming here, but today is the final vote that we're looking for. So
Thank
we
you
can
for that.
proceed.
And lastly, I just want to thank Mayor Huebner for her statement at the very beginning of the member comments. I do appreciate your confidence in this. And I am not an economist. I'm not a financial expert by any means, but I do appreciate relying on the expertise of our experts. And I appreciate Mayor Huebner's comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Molina. We will now go to Councilmember Chavez, followed by Councilmember Burkholder. And again, there's a motion on the floor from Mayor Huebner, seconded by myself.
Well, good morning, everyone. And as we delve into the topic of SANDAG's debt restructuring, I'm curious as to how it might influence the bonds tied to the SR 125 freeway. Chula Vista has the unique situation of being the only city in the county intersected by a toll road. Our city's aspiration is to expedite the reduction of the remaining bonds, thereby accelerating the timeline for providing toll-free service to our community. So I must ask, would these restructuring changes have an impact on the SR 125 bonds? Thank you.
So the answer is no. SANDAG right now has 3 master indentures. One is for SANDAG itself, which is backed by the FFGA that we've got for the Mid-Coast Trolley Project. The SR 125 that is backed by the toll revenues. And then this transip that we're evaluating today that is backed by the sales tax. But each one of those has their own master indentures. So financially, they don't cross or intersect each other. The revenues from one program stay in the revenues of that program. The expenses stay within the expenses of their own program. The one thing that I would like to say, though, is there is reputation and the experience of management and the governing board. So every time that we actually present to the rating agencies, they look at what we've done. For example, SR 125, when we purchased it out of bankruptcy, was a BBB minus entity. Now it's an A plus over the last 10 years. And even just these bonds that were upgraded on our junior lien, that also shows the reputation of this agency and the governance that we have on our board as well. So from a financial perspective, there is no impact to SR 125, but overall, as an entity, I think this is a positive.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Chavez. We'll now go to Councilmember Burkholder.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I did actually want you to answer Mr. Bilaashka's question about the ratings and how that might affect, and then I have 2 others, very quick things. Thank you, Chair.
The question that I understood, SANDAG is a very highly rated entity. We have 2 AAA ratings. In fact, we're higher rated than the federal government. And so it's very difficult for us to find actually any financial institutions that are higher rated than a AAA. That being said, we're very comfortable. I think Mr. Bilaashka's question is, you're putting your money in banks that are lower rated than yourself. I don't think there's any AAA rated banks in the United States right now. So not our fault that we're as highly rated as we are, but we're comfortable with within our investment policy that we have, that we're investing the funds where California code allows us to, with the safest institutions that we can.
Thank you. And further, I did hear some hope. It does spring eternal for me and the I-5 and the 78 corridor, because if we can use these funds to do the things that were promised to our constituents, we would absolutely appreciate that. So thank you. And my last question is for you, Mr. Kirk. If you don't mind, please just restating what you changed on page 135 of the agenda packet relative to Mayor Jones's comments.
So in the preliminary official statement, under the section entitled Risk Factors and under the paragraph entitled Proposition 218, the second to the last sentence, I believe, which begins with "in the opinion of," and it would read "in the opinion of Disclosure Council to the Commission," however.
All right, so we've got a motion put forward by Mayor Huebner. It was seconded by myself. Thank you, Councilmember Burkholder, because you did the work of clarifying what the additional language was. And seeing no additional requests to speak or any questions, Tessa, let's bring up the voting screen and everyone please register your vote.
That motion passes unanimously with those members present.
All right, thank you, Tessa. With that, we are going to be welcoming our partners from the Tribal Transportation and Social Equity Working Group to join us for the Regional Plan Workshop. If you all would like to join us now, we will transition to item 6. Thank you. That helped, having that out of the gate. Thank you, sir.
Want me to start talking as they're coming in, or we wait?
Wait.
Yeah.
Claire. Hi, how you doing? Yeah. Have you recovered? I bet. How long does it take to set up and clean up the night? Yeah, it's still going, yeah. And you got pulled into helping with registration? Got it. All right, we will get started here. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to the members of our Social Equity and Travel Transportation Working Group. We appreciate you being here. We are going to skip the group introductions, if you will forgive me for that, just so that we can make sure we have time for the discussion that we want to have. As many of you know, this is the next in our ongoing series of regional plan workshops for the board to help guide staff's work over the next several months. It was important that that as we start our work, we start it with the communities that we serve at the front of our minds, which is why we asked for the partners who are here today. Thank you again for joining us. And we're going to follow a similar format to last time, where we'll have a brief presentation, we'll take public comments. After that, staff will give us an overview of today's exercise. And as we did last time, we'll then move to conference room 7. I want to encourage all of us to save our comments and discussion for once we're in that room, where we'll have about 15 minutes to do the interactive exercise. Then Paula will do a brief wrap up, and we'll have a discussion around equity and the regional plan using the thumbs up, thumbs down exercise from our previous conversation. The end goal, or sideways, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways. The end goal for today is to continue to add to the guiding principles that we began at the last meeting, with a focus around how we can integrate greater social equity into the 2025 regional plan. With that, Colleen, if you'd like to introduce the item.
Yes. Thank you, Vice Chair, and welcome Social Equity Working Group members and Tribal Working Group members. This is the first ever joint workshop that has been held with the Board of Directors and with these two very important working groups. So it's really great to have you all here. Again, as the Vice Chair said, this is part of a series of workshops that we're doing with the Board of Directors because we know you want to have input into the regional plan. And so we did the guiding principles at your last meeting. This is the meeting where we're focused on social equity, and your next meeting we will be focused on the financing and revenues for the regional plan. So the importance of equity cannot be stressed enough. And there are laws and guidance actually by this board of directors about what that means. And so the first part is making sure that everyone has an opportunity to participate in the development of the regional plan. And in particular, that we engage people who have been underrepresented in the planning process, and to be sure that that input is meaningful. The second piece is, as the plan comes together, to have a social equity lens every step of the way to make sure that we're getting the input needed, it's coming back and coming back into the planning process so that it can actually guide how the plan is put together. So anyway, very excited to kick this off. We have amazing staff members here at SANDAG who are leading this effort. Paula Zamudio is our social equity senior planner at SANDAG. She's going to kick us off on how we're approaching this with the plan. Then Robin Wapner, who oversees all of our public affairs and is the leader in how we are doing public engagement. She's going to give an overview of that, and then we'll move into the workshop. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Colleen, for that. Good morning to everyone. We do have just a short presentation. Very happy to be here. We thought I am Paula Zamudio. I'm the Senior Equity Planner here at SANDAG. I'm the staff liaison for our Tribal Transportation and Social Equity Working Group. So we thought to kick us off this morning, we would bring up our commitment to equity statement. This is something that the board adopted February of 2021, really as a way to take action to uplift the importance of equity in how we plan and prioritize projects in our region, and really how we do work as an agency. So just wanted to call out that. I think at this point, we're all very aware that there are many requirements when it comes to the regional plan. This slide here shows all the requirements that are related to social equity. Federal law requires that we look at minority and low income populations, but you can see we're also considering other historically disadvantaged communities, including people with limited English proficiency and those people with disabilities. The federal regulations and executive orders that you see here apply to SANDAG as a recipient of federal funds and as a federally recognized metropolitan planning organization. Essentially, our plan has to address the needs of everyone and prioritize strategies that reduce pollution and provide more transportation options in those disadvantaged communities. We highlighted Executive Order 13175 here that requires consultation with our tribal nations. We're going to talk about that. Couple slides. On this map, you can see the three populations that SANDAG focuses on for the regional plan. Each is represented by a different colored dots. You can see the density really starting in South County, going up into Central, over into East County, again in North County, especially along that 78 corridor. And while it may not be as visually represented on the map, there are a significant number of low-income, minority, and senior populations that live in the unincorporated part of our region. We've got about 500,000 people who live in the unincorporated part of San Diego County. Of those, 47% are minority, 11% are low income, really just emphasizing the need for us to provide transportation options that work for all residents in our region. Our region is home to 18 Native American reservations that are represented by 17 tribal governments. This is the most of any county in the United States. On this map, they are reflected with those multicolored shaped boundaries. As you can see, they are all in the eastern unincorporated portion of our region. We work closely with our tribal nations through a solidified government-to-government framework. It includes, among other things, our Tribal Transportation Working Group, some of the members who have joined us here today. We also work collaboratively with the tribes and with Southern California Tribal Chairmen's Association to develop a tribal consultation plan for each cycle of the regional plan. This is to ensure that the transportation needs of our tribal governments are being met in the regional plan. Oftentimes, as you can imagine, these same projects are supporting the transportation needs of rural communities in the unincorporated part of our region. For example, we worked with tribes to identify 2 priority action projects, Interstate 8 at Willows Road and state route improvements along State Route 76. Analysis on both of these projects is moving forward to prepare them for the next stage of design and environmental assessment. So what does all this mean? Why is a social equity analysis important. I'm not going to read all of these to you, but you can see only 7% of low-income residents in our region have access to fast and frequent transit service, and 10% of our population in the region has a disability. Really, these numbers just drive home why it's important that we're planning to meet all these needs. Putting equity at the forefront, like Colleen was sharing, is about more than just state and federal requirements. It's really ensuring that all people in our region have access to convenient and reliable options to get around. I'm going to pass it over to Robin now.
Thank you, Paula. I'll go ahead and go to the next slide. So I think at your last workshop, Troy may have gone briefly over sort of the board work plan that we've been talking through with you. And again, like Colleen said, one of our goals really is to make sure that you have a voice in helping to guide where this next plan goes. But equally important is making sure that the public has a similar role in that. And so what we wanted to demonstrate today is how we see those two parts really coming together. Again, when we're talking about equity, it's one thing to put it on paper, say we have a commitment to equity, but what are we actually doing to achieve that in the San Diego region? We've got very specific requirements, but it's really about going above and beyond that and making this meaningful. And so when we're thinking about outreach, it's what can we do as part of the outreach to ensure that the ultimate product, the plan, represents what we're all talking about today. And so we've split this up sort of into 3 phases, really just focusing on 2023 right now. This is the 2025 plan. So we've got a lot of time in front of us, but this is really the year where we're focusing on the main ingredients of where we're going to go in the 2025 plan. So we wanted to make sure that we are making extensive efforts, one, to make sure folks know this is actually happening, they know what it is, and they know how they can be a part of it. And so the first phase that you'll see from June to July under the outreach bar is really focused on that, working with all of our partners in this room. And when I say all of our partners, it's the folks from the working groups, as well as the board members and all of the public sitting in the room with us as well. This is all of our plan, and we want to work with all of you to make sure that everyone understands what it is. So June to July, spreading the awareness, making people know they have a voice in the process and how they can assert that voice throughout the rest of the year. August through September, that's when we really start to sort of reflect back what we've been hearing, not only in the last couple of months, but over the last 4 years, 10 years, 15 years. The regional plan is a living document. It is constantly evolving. We don't want people to think that we haven't heard you. We've heard a lot, and we're starting there. We're not starting from the beginning or trying to reinvent any wheels, but what we are trying to do is do it a little bit differently this time. We want to make sure that what we are doing is meaningful. It's thoughtful. We're not just checking the box. And so when we're talking about using data for the plan, we're also using data for outreach. We're really looking at that map, those populations, working with our CBO partners to find out how can we actually talk to the people who have not been involved in this process before. So you're going to see through all of our communication methods that we're using the multimodal approach. If we're offering something online, we're also going to be offering it in person. You're going to see us either digitally or physically, one way or another, in every subregion through every phase of this outreach plan. And then finally in October to December is when we will be sort of closing the feedback loop on a temporary basis, at least, because again, it's going to go on through 2025. But by then, staff will have been working with the board to introduce an initial concept. That initial concept board you're going to be seeing later this fall. It's going to have the projects, the programs, the funding, everything that we're talking about through this series of workshops in one. And so at that point, we want to go back to the community and say, okay, this is what we've come up with based on everyone's feedback. Did we get it right? What are we missing? And so in the last phase of the outreach plan, October through December, is when we're working closely with the board and the public to answer those questions. One thing I wanted to flag for you, August through September, like I said, that's sort of when we're really going to be out in the public, meeting people where they are, having those conversations. I know we're going dark for board meetings, but please don't plan your vacations yet, because that's when we want to be working with you in your communities, having these community conversations, community fairs, town halls, whatever it's going to take to talk to your constituents, to your people, and get the word out and get folks involved in the process in a meaningful way. So we're super excited for the partnership. We've already been working with the Social Equity Working Group and their CBO technical outreach teams to start to put together some of the plans on this, and you will be hearing that from us shortly, board members as well, to start blocking your calendars too. And now I'm handing it over to Carmela. Yes.
Chairwoman Pinto.
Chairwoman Pinto.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I want to give a shout out to all the tribal nations that I see in the room represented here. I see Ray Turan, Viejas. I see Shasta from Paula. And I think I see Barona here somewhere. I saw Barona somewhere. But thank you for being here.
I want to speak a little bit to the importance of tribal consultation. You touched on it a little bit, but my name is Erica Pinto. I'm the chair of the Humulian Village of California, but here in this forum, I represent the Southern California Tribal Chair Association, proudly made up of 18 federally recognized tribes, and the most of in any other county in the nation, by the way. And I prepared a few points that I want to really touch upon so I don't forget anything, but I want to say that SANDAG maintains formal agreements with the Southern California Tribal Chairpersons Association to collaborate with San Diego County's 18 sovereign tribal nations. SANDAG is responsible for ensuring that its plans for the region protect tribal lands, culture, and resources throughout every stage of the process. And honoring these commitments is particularly vital now, as this state and the nation at large faces crises related to health, economy, racial justice, and climate change, all of which disproportionately harm American Indian communities. As an initial matter of all land, of the land under SANDAG jurisdiction was originally indigenous territory that likely has cultural significance on some level to one or more of the 18 tribal nations in San Diego County. There are some more tribes in San Diego County than any other region in the contiguous United States. Each of these tribes are diverse, they each have different needs and face different issues. Tribal consultation represents an effort to engage in government-to-government collaboration to improve communication and coordination with tribes in the consideration of policies, guidelines, planning processes, and environmental review practices. Tribal consultation works best when there are clear, well-articulated procedural mandates in place to facilitate such communication. For example, the state legislature passed AB 52 in 2014, which sets forth tribal consultation requirements for lead agencies that prepare certain environmental documents related to CEQA. Although the consultation process under CEQA is not perfect, it does provide some concrete requirements rather than nebulous, lofty language that reads more like a mission statement than an action item focused on ensuring social equity for Native peoples. This working group is focused on providing collaborative, open, and public forum input from underserved and underrepresented communities in the region on planning activities, including implementing the current regional plan, developing the upcoming 2025 regional plan, and related activities. All of this work is done with a focus on the social equity perspective. Social policy, social equity within it can include a variety of public contexts, including education, policing, welfare, housing, and transportation planning for social equity in the future. It means recognizing past planning practices that have desperate impact on Native communities and actively working with Native nations to create better communities for all so that every member of the community at large can thrive. From a social equity context, tribal consultation ensures that SANDAG receives input from stakeholders from diverse circumstances so that resources and opportunities are allocated to reach an equal outcome for all. SANDAG's engagement of tribal nations to build strong, active communication and understanding is fundamental to achieving its social equity goals. SANDAG should foster an approach to engaging with tribal governments that help SANDAG to identify the cultural values, the religious beliefs, the traditional practices, and the legal rights of American people, American Indian people, who are affected by SANDAG's policies and plans. And those are my brief comments that I wanted to thank SANDAG for allowing me to share those comments. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks, Chairwoman Pinto. We are now going to ask a member of our Social Equity Working Group, Carmela Munoz from Vista Community Clinic, to share a few thoughts with us as well around social equity.
Morning. My name is Carmela Munoz and I work for Vista Community Clinic. Vista Community Clinic is one of the CBOs doing outreach for SANDAG. Our outreach efforts are focused in Oceanside, but we also work with community members of Vista, San Marcos, and Escondido. The community members that we work for are big supporters of the 5 big moves. They believe the new project provides opportunities for all. However, many community members in our county are facing several issues that are affecting their lives. Some of these such issues are related to displacement, housing, and transportation. There are very few affordable housing programs, and some of those available are unaffordable due to their high income requirements. I work with some community members whose annual salary is between 25 and 35,000 per year. These community members are wishing there were more available programs for them. Some of them have already experienced displacement. I have seen many community members moving out from their communities, the communities that they have been living for over 10, 15 years because they cannot keep paying rent. In many instances, these community members have to live with 2 or 3 families in order for them to afford to pay the rent. So they would like to see more affordable housing programs that really help these underserved communities. Several community members also rely on public transportation, which is often unreliable in North County. Many students facing everyday issues to get to the school because the schools are probably 5 miles away from their neighborhood, and we know that the schools are not providing any transportation anymore. So some of these parents have to pay their neighbors so their neighbors can transport the children, but it's expensive for them to pay every week to their neighbors to take their children. And if for some reason the neighbor is unable to take the children, these children are unable to go to school. This is another issue that they are facing there in their communities. They also would like to see more frequency. I know some residents who have to leave their homes 2 hours before a doctor appointment. An example is that this community member have to leave her home at 5:15 to get the bus at 6 to go to the transit center in Escondido. And from Escondido, she has to go to Vista. And from Vista, she has to take another bus to get to her doctor appointment at 8 a.m. So they are asking for more frequency in public transit. Thank you for for the opportunity to speak and share some of the concerns from some residents who reside in North County area. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmela, and thank you again, Chairwoman Pinto, both for your thoughts. Vice Chair, that concludes our presentation. I believe we're turning it back to you for public comment.
Thank you so much, Paula. Any additional comments, Colleen? All right. Tessa, public comment on this item?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Our first public comment on this item is Alan C., who will be followed by Truth.
It's kind of ironic. We have a buses are at stop down South Bay, but there is a free bus service down South Bay, the V-House bus, public versus private. So here we got a V-House buses, free bus services going to the casino, yet they won't provide for their own people, sovereign nation. So do you see kind of a little bit of hypocrisy here, folks? There's your bus service. I'd like to share a little story about a local taco shop. Very little time. I used to pay $7 for breakfast burrito. That taco shop, they've got thousands of taco shops, all independent owned, and now it's like $12 for that little taco shop. How much more can I support that guy? Because his overhead, because of all these taxes, these guys on the other side of the table will not stop. There's where the problem is. You talk about equity, look at the cost of living. That taco shop, where the woman can't get a bus because the unions are talking about another strike. I yield back.
Our next public commenter is Truth, who will be followed by Consuelo.
All right, equity is box checking. Let's be real, all right? Right off the bat, I can say that this regional plan actually goes against social equity by discriminating against both the elderly and people with disabilities. They can't realistically walk to a bus or trolley, but even if they could, they'd be at risk for safety on it. That's exactly why we have cars: safety, efficiency, and convenience, the complete opposite of public transit. Even this item admits, quote, only 7% of low-income residents have access to fast and frequent transit service, and the median transit travel time is 51 minutes, double the travel time for people who drive, end quote. Enough said. Just refund us back our money so we can buy cars. And if the state doesn't like that, let's use that money to fight their lawsuits too. So that continuous learning logo that goes in a circle with all the little buzzwords on it, it's perfect because people say they don't want to be taxed on driving, and that engagement gets lost in a feedback loop. 360 examples. Oh, there's no road tax, there's a road use surcharge. Oh, there's no vehicle miles traveled fees, there's vehicle hours traveled fees. It's all socialist, racist equity.
Your time has expired. The next public commenter, Consuelo, who will be followed by Dr. Bilash.
They claim that they work for the needs of everyone. They don't. The SANDAG Corporation only ensures that nothing will ever be fixed. The only improvements that are ever made are to be federally compliant. Anything and everything they ever do is for the benefit of government, not for the people. We are just tax cattle, funding everything, and you're just the status slaves buying all their bullshit. Look, hook, line, and sinker. Look around here downtown. There's no improvement. Everything government touches is tainted. They've continued to promise equity, safety, equality, sustainability. None of that ever happens. We are responsible for ourselves and for each other. That is the true native way. Government and SANDAG only keep its people enslaved. Wake up. Look up UN Agenda 21.
Our next commenter, Dr. Bilash, will be followed by Michael Brando.
Good afternoon, board. Thank you once again. And I know that the board members are not appreciated by the public as much as you need to be. I am so pleased to be here with the brainpower we have and the commitment, and honored by the guests from the tribal community. I want to echo Ms. Pinto's chair of the Southern California Tribal Association, her comments, and to add that SANDAG doesn't have enough to do. Could you please fix the budget deficit and give us world peace while you're at it? The expectations for the engineers of this organization reaching out and the outreach we're talking about is just exceptional. I want to suggest something that I'm becoming more aware of, and that is soil conservation and regeneration. It appears it must include small farming. I'm talking about 200-acre farms, and ways to save water and not use petroleum chemicals in the production of our food sources, and whether this might
Thank
fit
you.
in
Your time
with some of the
expired.
tribe. Thank you.
Our next public speaker is Michael Brando, who will be followed by the first virtual commenter, Karina Contreras.
Michael, I started that the importance of everything is the foundation of truth, and we're operating on falsehoods here. Social equity is a lie. Equity is a communist term. You might not like that, but it's the truth. An analogy to this, for example, Rockefeller Center, it's June. The organic gay rights movement has been hijacked by US Inc. and all of these global institutions. Rockefeller Center took down most of their flags. All of the flags that are flying in June are gay rainbow flags. So when we take away things from other people to give it to someone else, that's at that other group's expense. And this is not your business to be involved in any of this. This group should just be absolutely disbanded. The same thing goes on at City of San Diego and the County Board of Supervisors. This is why people are waking up, and there's going to be more people being angry about it first before they start taking good action.
Our next public commenter, Karina Contreras, will be followed by Caro from EHC. Karina, please go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Karina Contreras, Transportation Policy Advocate for Climate Action Campaign. And I just want to give the message out that as SANDAG is looking to their 2025 regional plan, it is incredibly important that we are able to connect residents throughout the region of San Diego, whether they're in East County, whether they're in North County or down south. It's incredibly critical to have better connectivity, more frequency, safety, and that we tie in active transportation with public transit. Unfortunately, it is incredibly unsafe for folks who are walking, and we need to change that. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Caro, will be followed by Paul Henkin. Caro?
Good morning. My name is Carolina with the Environmental Health Coalition. We're here to ensure equity truly leads the way in all planning processes within SANDAG, and specifically request that bus frequency projects, Blue Line Express, and the construction of the Purple Line are the agency's top priorities. Barrio Logan, National City, and City Heights have endured generations of transit disinvestment while being some of the communities with the highest ridership. Funding has historically prioritized wealthier North County areas. For example, we celebrate the extension of the Blue Line to UCSD, and I myself have friends going through college who have benefited. However, it is very clear to see the lack of investment in the portion that goes from the border to the downtown area. It is a perfect example of the difference in priority. So we would like to request investing in those three projects, the Blue Line,
Your time has expired. Our next speaker, Paul Henkin, will be followed by the phone number 899. Paul, please go ahead.
Hi, Paul Henkin. As Rebecca Jones said, you need to consider the lower incomes. Also, I would add people who need to go long distance for work, shopping, medical appointments and such like, and so on. You need a lot more transit hubs. If the tribes are all in, or mostly in East County, and the transit hubs are basically only west of the I-15, that is not good. And we just heard how you want to use, how SANDAG wants to use the transit tax, Transnet for other things. I do not trust how you use the road user charge or whatever you.
Your time expired. Our next speaker, phone number 899, will be followed by the final speaker, the original draw. 899, please go ahead. You are self-muted. There you go.
Hi, yes, sorry. This is Mary Davis, and actually there is a rich irony in this item when you say that outreach is important, but you routinely cut our time down to a minute when we show up to speak in person, kind of a double standard there. I would like to see you for this item to change the parameters. I was surprised to see seniors were 75 plus. I'd like to see you change it down to 65 and older, if not 55 is my recommendation, because that number aligns with many retirement ages that then put people on fixed incomes, as well as a parking sign I saw at the YMCA that said seniors were 55 and up. Revising this will give a far better representation to the backcountry and to communities like Borrego Springs that has a high percentage of retirees in that age group. Thank you so much.
And our final commenter on this item, the original draw, please go ahead.
as we sit here and push the UN agenda by monitoring society and putting them into enslavement, you know, you guys as puppets don't see your strings, and you talk about you want people to thrive, and in your pursuit to push equity, you're perpetuating inequity because you will never have it, just like Michael was saying, in your pursuit to have that. And nobody should you know, consent to this charge, whatever it is, to be driving. And I don't understand how you can expect people to thrive if you're then going to be charging them to drive. And in your pursuit for equity, will you then only make certain people pay that because there's certain groups that have been disadvantaged? You know, so therefore you're creating inequality. And you guys should be putting policies for the bathrooms, the public bathrooms. Outfront Dassault Street Furniture Inc. is a joint venture between Outfront Media and JC Dassault North America. They provide and maintain and develop these public spaces that provide bathrooms that create.
Your time expired. That concludes the public comments on this item.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, so with that, we are going to move over to conference room 7, and I will see everyone over there.
Back here, then we'll come back here after. Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. We're right in the middle of it. I was looking for you. Where we see right. Your destination, number one.
I'm like, see, that's.
But you slash pattern, right? It's like black. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Just a few directions.
Super, thank you.
Sort of let you have conversations in your group. We go back a couple steps. Okay, so what are we doing in here today? We are identifying projects and supporting policies that address the major requirements for equity. We want to prioritize projects that can be operational in the next 10 years. So really looking at that near term versus projects that are further out. For those folks who were here 2 weeks ago, We're building on what you already worked on. As you can see, for everybody else, you're going to be working on these boards that have a map of our county. You can see all these combinations of blue and yellow stickies. We are going to have the opportunity as we break up into groups to hear from one of our facilitator at each group. They'll quickly explain what took place, what conversation happened 2 weeks ago, and sort of what projects you see on the map. And then we're going to ask that you review the projects, which are represented by the blue stickers, and the policy, which are represented by the yellow stickers. They have to be combined, they're a combination, so we just want you to review them to see what was previously added. We want you then to evaluate these combinations using this lens of social equity and making sure that our environmental justice communities were considered. You've got handouts of the dot map that we shared in the presentation that you can refer to. I'm going to go through these stickies now. So we have region-wide policies and programs that are represented by the green stickers that can be added. These do not need to be added in combination. Each group can add up to 2 of those. Each board has to have a minimum of 10 pairs, which they all already do, but keep that in mind as you're making changes, moving things, adding things. New combinations can be added. For any red strategy that's chosen, these are projects that increase the GHG and BMP. So in order to mitigate that, you have to add any 4 additional blue and yellow sticky combinations. We do want to have group consensus, so we're hoping that you'll have that conversation. You don't have to stay sitting down, but we did want to provide chairs to make sure everybody's comfortable. And we are going to give you 15 minutes for this. I'm going to go through, I keep talking about the sticker combinations. So the blue stickers are the projects that you have today are the rapid bus, flexible fleets, active transportation, and reconnecting communities. The policies are the yellow stickies. These are managed lane conversions, infill development, parking pricing, and then the region-wide policies and programs are the green stickies, free transit, increased transit frequency, electric vehicle incentives, and e-bike incentives. Everyone knows where they're at. As we get started, we just wanted to call these up for our board members that were here 2 weeks ago. These were decided on in the last workshop. We highlighted the 2 that deal specifically with equity, so you can think of these as we want our plan to prioritize equity and economic development, including in the unincorporated areas. We want our plan to focus on improving health for the most impacted communities. So we're going to leave this up here just again as a sort of frame of reference as you work through the activity. And with that, we have 15 minutes to complete this. So
I just want to make a request and to make it publicly known. You did a great job at the very beginning, showing what the inequities are in terms of the populations, people in poverty, seniors, etc. But in our equity statement for SANDAG, we also include funding equity, as well as I think we maybe need a review on what equity means, we need to put it into historic context. So I see that missing with regards to kind of the baseline we're working with. What is the historic nature of inequity in the past 20 years with regards to per capita funding and development of our transportation system? I think that will give us light on why we are where we are today and why equity needs to be our priority today and what we're finding at. So I hope in the future that information is given to the public in our public discussion and board members, because we come from a place of not starting today, but really starting 20 years ago or 30 years ago with inequity and how we can right things.
thank you, Councilmember Shu. And just for everyone else, we are going to have time for discussion. We're going to take this 15 minutes to complete the activity, and then the vice chair will lead some more discussion. There is opportunity for that. Thank you. Okay, now we will let you get started. Thank you.
All right.
So we have talk about But we have influence. The idea there is. There is, I wonder what you think about this. For example, now you're.
Hey, can I interrupt you for a second? The bus drive is actually just TransDev. It's not, MTS has two ways of getting bus drivers. They have bus drivers that work directly for MTS, that are MTS employees. They're all still driving.
Okay.
The ones that they contract out through TransDev, they're the ones that are on
Yeah,
strike.
but my question to you, which you've never answered, is what are you gonna do about that bus emergency light? The bus can't even fit on the emergency light. It's dangerous. What are you gonna do about that?
We're doing all the studies. and
The
it's
studies don't
showing-
mean crap when you put people's lives at risk.
Yeah,
Go look
it's
at the
showing
lane,
that
the
it's-
bus physically cannot fit on the emergency lane. And every time there's an on-ramp, they gotta swerve into rush hour traffic until the next emergency lane. It is dangerous. Stop it now, please. I live down there. I fight that every day. Drive yourself, drive yourself. Look at the signs. Emergency lane is too narrow for a bus. So they cut into that far lane, 18-wheel trucks. And then every time there's an on-ramp, you gotta swerve into.
I know. It's not.
But you have to want to make it safe and want to make it safe in your
I get a signal from our facilitator presentation. All right, thank you everyone. All right, so very active. Jack, I blame you. I blame Jack. Doesn't go up, and I'm usually right. I blame Jack.
Sean, we're talking over here. You're interrupted.
It's Jackson. All right. The thing is, everyone always believes that. Yeah, on both sides. All right, so as a reminder, this is how the exercise is going to work. We're going to open the discussion and we'll have an opportunity to throw some statements out there. We also want to be cognizant of time. We're close to 1 o'clock as it is. And so without trying to rush through it, also trying to be concise and do this in a relatively expedient way. If you put your thumbs up or your thumb up, that means that you are good with the statement that is made. If you put your thumb down, that means you are not okay with it. And sideways means that you can live with it. Anything that doesn't get a thumbs down will go on the list. These are the statements that we agreed to last time. Those are the rules we agreed to last time. Today, we're going to walk through, talk through any equity-focused principles we would like to add. And as we go through the additional workshops, we'll continue to build on what we put together last time, what we had today. So I'm going to take a first stab at it. The SANDAG board adopted a commitment to equity in 2021. As a new board, probably good to see that again. The first statement that I'm going to throw out for thumbs up or thumbs down is that it is important that we work together and with the community to develop a plan that advances SANDAG's commitment to equity. We got thumbs up. Do we have any thumbs down?
Can you say it again?
Yes. It is important that we work together and with the community to develop a plan that advances SANDAG's commitment to equity.
I have to go thumbs down at this time because you're not actually defining what type of equity.
Okay.
If that is a bullet point in there somewhere, then I think I can go with it and live with it.
So, Mayor, just to be clear, in this equity statement, you don't feel like equity is adequately defined?
I don't think it's adequately defined because we talk about, geographical, demographic, or environmental equity. Unless you want to make it say all types, all equity is inclusive of, or something like that. Because I think equity means something different to so many people.
Okay.
If I could address that concern there, so coming from North County where we're always looking to finally get our piece of the pie. I see that the term historically underserved would also speak to regional issues where certain areas are underfunded. So that's kind of how I place my community there.
But maybe for me, that might not be inclusive enough. Because especially if you listen to underserved communities, regardless of where they're at, they're gonna say, well, we've always been told that we're gonna be equity's coming your way. And nobody really knows what that means. And then it shows up one day and it's not necessarily what they expect. Or so far in the future that the promise of equity is nothing more than an empty promise.
Can I suggest something? Everybody in this.
Hold on. So Mayor,
Okay, sorry.
I'm
I'm a newbie.
I want to call our attention to the last part of this, and I hear you, because sometimes it can be. I felt this in the advocacy perspective, when we're talking about everyone, we're talking about nobody in that. But we've got this statement, and at the last section of this, I see something that says that we're committed to creating a San Diego region where every person who visits, work, and live can thrive. And in order for that to happen, in my mind at least, that means that the folks in Vista need to have what they need to thrive. The folks in Santee need to have what they need to thrive. And if they've been underserved in the past, that means they're going to need that much more in comparison in order to thrive. And so I think I mentioned it before. To me, that means I mean this, every person in Santee needs to get what they need, recognizing that they haven't gotten out of the past, same with Vista, same with City of San Diego. So you won't be comfortable unless we get more specific, or because you don't feel like this will actually be inclusive of the folks you
Well, I just want to tell you what my thoughts are on it, my opinion on it. I'm not going to speak, I certainly hope that doesn't speak for the whole group. I would hope that many people would say, you know, this is a good, maybe this is a good start and good philosophy, but we'll work on, you know, grinding out the, you know, making the sausage better.
Okay.
If I could just add, I just think the actual definition of equity means that what it is that the people who have need get what they need. There's that visual that we had a while ago where it showed 3 people trying to look over a fence, and there was a tall person who didn't need a box, a short person who needed 2 boxes, and a person in a wheelchair who needed a ramp. And then they got the solutions that they need, and they're the different populations, whether they lived wherever they lived or not. So it's almost like in the concept of equity itself, it says that it's serving everybody because it means that everybody gets the solution that they require.
No, I absolutely understand that, and I agree with that philosophy. I just don't know if that's something that is really embraced.
In theory.
Yeah, there's a theory. I don't know how well it's embraced, so maybe time is the issue.
So that's
more than
reflected
anything
in that
else.
statement. I think that's the question. What she said, the equity is reflected in that statement.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm having difficulty with the wording of it, but I'm not.
It doesn't have to be unanimous, does it? I mean, we've got a lot of thumbs up, right?
That's what I said.
And that's
I'll
his
hold it up,
opinion.
Just say my opinion.
Yeah, I got you.
We're gonna go to Molina, and then we'll have Councilor Molina make your case, and then I've got one more question for you. We'll see if we can get to the side of it. Councilmember?
So, I'm looking at the slide here and it's wordy, but I'm looking at the very last sentence, we are committed to blah, 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 where every person, to me, that includes everyone. And I'm comfortable with that. That to me makes sense as far as an equity statement is concerned. Yes, there's a lot of other words on there, but at the very bottom, the gist of it, we are committed to creating San Diego region where every person who visits, works, and lives can thrive. That makes sense.
Sure. Absolutely.
As far as the equity.
So Mayor, if I can add this, I agree with the same way, which, and like when we say every person, we mean every person. Can we get you sideways if we agree that at some point in the relatively near future, we will have a SANDAG definition of equity that way when we were referencing Whether it's equity in the word equity in the statement or in other places, there's a shared understanding of what we're actually talking about.
I could get the sideways on this. I want it spelled out better because to me, that's like a contract with a weasel clause. You didn't quite fit it, so we're gonna weasel out of our commitments.
Okay. So we'll try one more time. I'm gonna read the statement. It's important that we work together and with the community to develop a plan that advances SANDAG's curriculum capital. Thumbs up? Any thumbs down? Any sideways thumb? All right, I'll take that. We'll follow it. Thank you. All right, the next statement we have is that it is important that our plan improves access to education, jobs, other basic needs for disadvantaged communities. I'll read that one more time. It is important that our plan improves access to education, jobs, and other basic needs for disadvantaged communities. Everyone who's supportive of that, thumbs up. Okay. Any thumbs down? Any sideways thumbs? We've got
I just, just a
teetering stuff.
question,
Yeah.
disadvantaged versus disinvested? I just think
Okay.
Maybe it's
disadvantage always sits with me wrong.
You want to explain?
No, I can't explain.
Okay, fair enough.
Could you just say it one more time?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can explain it. Disadvantage comes across as if it's my fault I'm disadvantaged versus disinvested is that's what's happened to me in my community.
Okay.
That's the
One is
difference.
a victim.
Yes, a disadvantage makes me a victim. The other is that.
Got it. Okay, so we've got another comment back there and then I might take another stab at this.
Is education.
Oh, right behind you, sorry.
Go for it, yeah.
So probably we can add elephant because it's very essential. Not just into basic needs. Health needs. They come from.
You're a health provider?
It's very essential.
And Catherine Melinda, did you have a?
Yes, Catherine, that's my full name, yeah. So education, jobs, and other basic needs, right? So with the population that a lot of times we're talking about in regards to equity, might be people on fixed incomes, people who are seniors, retired. So education and jobs feels not inclusive in that regard. I think that, you know, even something, you know, more essential like housing, right, would be more appropriate, in my opinion, as a basic need from an equity standpoint. But education and jobs, especially when we're thinking about people who may or may not be in a position to utilize those basic needs, I'm not sure if it's as inclusive as I would want it to be. I'm a sideways because I think covering basic needs is important. And I appreciate the inclusion of healthcare too. But that's just my feedback.
Got it. Okay, so without making it the sort of laundry list where you know, such a list that everyone feels like if their thing is not on there, then we are intentionally excluding it. I'm gonna try to add a couple things here, see if we can get everyone thumbs up. It is important that our plan improves access to education, jobs, housing, healthcare, and other basic needs for disadvantaged communities. Give thumbs up if you're supportive of that. Thumbs down if you oppose. Anybody sideways still? Okay, fantastic. All right, so I'll read that one more time. It's important that our plan improves access to education, jobs, housing, healthcare, and other basic needs for disadvantaged communities. All right, we've got time maybe for one more addition, if anyone would like to throw something out there. In terms of a principle that we want to commit to with respect to equity.
If there's no one else, I can throw in my 2 cents with here. It is important that the next regional plan works towards reducing health impacts in the most impacted communities in our region. And health impact, I think everyone knows that's pollution, and primarily from transportation.
You want to, so is it important our plan reduces
Health impact.
health impacts?
In our most impacted community. And we know the environmental screen map, and those areas that are in darker color. Maybe if you want to get specific, I can, but I think that's important.
Just to make sure we're being, it's important our plan reduces negative health impacts in our most impacted.
Reduces negative health impact.
Reduces negative health impact in our most impacted. All right, everyone who's supportive of that statement, thumbs up. Anyone who's thumbs down? Got anyone who's sideways on that one? All right, great. So we've got 3 statements. I'll summarize those and then we'll wrap up. The first one is that it is important that we work together and with the community to develop a plan that advances SANDAG commitment to equity. And that's the promise to Mayor Minto to return at a later date, not too later, to define what equity is here at SANDAG. The second is that it is important that our plan improves access to education, jobs, housing, healthcare, and other basic needs for disadvantaged communities. And then the third one is, it is important our plan reduces negative health impacts in our most impacted communities. Sound good? We're all headed in the same direction. Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. We have to go back to the room. We have to go back to the room. You and I are remembering.
I'm excited about the art thing. See, that's good news today. So we got. We have a lot of young people.
For our board members, you can actually hear non-identifiable comment here.
Hello? Hello? I'm Paul Henkin. Can you hear me? Hello?
Can you hear us, Mr. Henkin?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, I mean, I was going to say, equity, the basic meaning of equity is fairness. So my feeling is that you really don't need an equity statement. I mean, all the things you described, access to healthcare, access to schools, access to basic services. I mean, everyone needs those. Of course, if someone's disadvantaged, you want to focus on them. But I mean, the way equity has been applied in San Diego, it's like certain groups are kind of included in the perks or shut out of the perks. And it's not really applied fairly or evenly. So I don't like.
Thank you. Your time expired. Our next speaker will be the original draw, who will be followed by Mary D. If you're still present, please raise your hand.
This is non-agenda public comment, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, just watching you guys not even understand what equity is and then doing that whole thing is a little bit weird. But as I was trying to tell you guys before, because you want to have everybody use this public transit, there are companies out there that provide bathrooms that they maintain and manage free to the city or wherever. So all of you guys in your different cities could take advantage of these to provide this public necessity to the people that are riding. And it's Outfront DeSalle Street Furniture Inc. It's a joint venture between Outfront Media and JC DeSalle North America. They've been committed to developing and implementing unique urban services and amenities intended to enrich the urban transit experience. So through the marketing advertising panels on the sides of the street furniture, they're able to finance the city's programs to provide these bathrooms. So you guys have options. You need to be looking into it. You can even change your public policy to enforce that these be mandated in any of the projects moving forward that involve transit.
Thank you. Your time expired. Our final speaker on this item is phone number 899. Mary D, please go ahead.
Hi, yes, I didn't realize you switched to public comment. It would be nice to see the screen where we could actually see if anybody's listening to us. After yesterday's fire in East Village, I wanted to highlight my grave concerns about the increasing problem of lithium battery fires in our region and urge you to start studying and collecting data on the growing problem. This is critical on two fronts. First, to document the issue and establish a baseline and track trends. And then as your agency in the state of California, continue to push for more and more electric vehicles on our roadways, our garages, and our parkades as you push for increased density and urbanization and prioritize active transportation options like e-bikes and scooters. Secondly, it directly correlates to placing an increased burden on our already fragile water supply, since extinguishing these EV battery fires requires far more water than for internal combustion engines. Since you are a data-driven agency, please start tracking this issue, the number of fires, as well as the water volume used, man hours needed, and total cost to fight them. Thank you so much.
That concludes the continued public comments.
Right. Well, with that, our meeting is concluded. Our next board meeting is on June 23rd at 9 a.m. Thank you, everyone.